the hardest game mentally wise for me as a caller and keep staying focused was the Spirit game. Somehow they never backed down. It kind of felt like we played ourselves. They threw some rounds, they won some insane rounds. It was back and forth, left and right. And I think for me it was just like they came from the like same mentality. Like it felt like we played against the team from Katowice from us. Like whatever happened, like you're never out of the round, you're never giving up, you're enjoying the moment, you're having fun, and no pressure, right? Because Spirit had no pressure with the way they played against us.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
Hello and welcome to HLTV Confirmed, Season 6, Episode 18. We have karrigan here for an amazing post-major, major winner special. Every episode is a special now. Everything is special. We're all special. karrigan is special, but also Striker is special. He just bought an apartment. What's the favorite part of your apartment? What do you enjoy the most? You have 5 seconds to answer.
Table and PC.
Table and PC, a fucking gamer moment right there. karrigan, welcome.
Thank you.
How are
Thank
you
you for
doing?
inviting me. I'm not jet lagged at all, I promise.
Yeah. Did you have a business class flight from NA to Europe?
Yes, I had, so I could sleep at least. So yeah. Should be good.
How worth is the whatever it costs?
I think at this point, I think it's worth when you are in the middle of season. I think it's definitely worth to have a little more sleep and be ready, because we have tournament in 1 week, right? So it creates less jet lag at least.
Yeah, I mean, understandable. I think you can afford it after winning a couple of tournaments that you did. Before we roll the bumper, thanks to our sponsors, Xtrfy, Bitskins, and N1Bet for supporting the show. And then we roll the hot seat, and then we talk to karrigan for a bit. Maybe I'll also explain why Chad isn't here. It's kind of a secret, so stay tuned. So look, honestly, the thing with SPUNJ, it's complicated. We're in Belgium, obviously, home of beer, and we essentially just spent too much on beer at the live show that we had. So our budget for the show is kind of cut now. So we'll have to go at least a couple of months without SPUNJ until we can kind of recover the budget or sign a new sponsor. So if you guys want to support the show, maybe if someone has like a family company, maybe you can DM us and let us know, and maybe you can get SPUNJ back. That's kind of the situation that we're in right now. Until then, you'll have to just cope with me. We also have a secondary producer. It's a very budget show right now. It's really difficult. But who isn't budget? It's FaZe. FaZe are the non-budget FaZe. They are the main FaZe. and you won the major. Something's happened after that. We're not going to talk about it for now. Let's kind of roll back, heading into the major. Obviously, on paper, favorites, but how was the team feeling? Were you going into it actually like feeling like supremely confident as these teams, like the Astralis era, like NAVI era team going into the major, like, oh, this is ours, this is going to be kind of easy, expected, right?
No, I think we had a good feeling going into the major. I think we were very careful not being overconfident. I think we obviously had a strange first few months in the team, like winning Katowice with a stand-in, and then we went to Pro League down 0-2 and grinded way back to a 3-2, and thanks to Vitality to win a game against Outsiders. So we ended up winning Pro League, right, with a really hard playoff with Cloud9, NAVI, and then play ENCE in the final. And I think many of these teams we met there is kind of in a good shape in that sense. I think ENCE, NAVI, we're in a good shape, at least also at Katowice, right? So I knew we should be in a top 4, but the thing about major, you never know who you meet at what stage of the tournament, right? So yeah, I got a little scared maybe after we got wrecked by ENCE in the first game, but also knew that's like just getting into the tournament. And the thing about major is not how you start the tournament, it's how you end the tournament every time, because it is a long term with a lot of matches and pressure. So yeah, made sure we were not overconfident, but confident enough to kind of grab the win.
What did you do not to let it get in your head? Obviously, it's been talked about for such a long time that you're missing a major. You've always been kind of like the top guy who people thought should have a major by this point, but didn't have it. So was it difficult for you to kind of like set the mindset straight and make sure that you're not, you don't really go there headspace wise?
I think for me personally, I kind of told myself 2 years ago that I might never get a major, right? So if I have a bad tournament, or if I'm calling bad, or have a bad period, or even if I'm getting sick during a tournament, right? You don't maybe hit your 100%. And by telling myself that I might never get a major, it just made me realize, okay, then I can try to win all other tournaments, right? And make them as much as important as a major. So I think the mistake I did early in my career was saying I need the major to win the major. And you don't know where you can become one of the greatest, right? And I think I just had the mindset that many professional players in other sports might never win the biggest tournament, but they win big tournaments all the time. And by having that mindset, I kind of felt like less pressure coming into the major, that, okay, like you might not win it, but in my opinion, I can still fight to be the greatest in-game leader in the world. So by doing that, I think it kind of released some of that pressure I maybe had in the previous times. And yeah, I think that was the best thing I changed with the mindset, that just accepting that and reading about other professional players in other sports that they never won the Champions League, but they're still considered one of the best players in the world, for example. So I think just that mindset was very healthy for me, at least.
So
I mean,
how did that match up against kind of like the fulfillment of finally doing it? Did it also dampen kind of like that final feeling, or do you feel like you kind of that was like the fulfillment you were waiting for?
I think I was very careful during especially the playoff, right? When we saw the bracket, I was like, oh, I don't like this bracket, because on paper it's easier, but man, those games were not easy at all, and those are the most dangerous games. But there was like first time in a long time that I kind of had butterflies in my stomach before the NAVI final. And I think I was happy that my fiance was there, because I had a talk with her for like half an hour before the game about why it is that why do I have butterflies in the stomach? Is it like nerves? Is it excitement? I had someone to talk about, to kind of express my feelings, and kind of just figure out it was excitement to finally be back in the major final, finally be here for the second time in my career. Last time didn't go as I wanted to go, but then I just sat down and just prepped even more and didn't think about how my body feels, and I just went into warming up extra, and not having too many thoughts, because sometimes as a player you think, how would it be to win the major? What if I do this? You kind of visualize the whole moment, and suddenly the game was over in one. I was like, the whole thing just suddenly turned into a blur that day, that I was so focused in the end. And I think that helped me just to regain the focus, instead of thinking what it would mean to win the tournament, because sometimes you get ahead in your head, and sometimes you think, what if you lose? Like, what do people say about me and the team, right? So I think it was good to have that mental focus, especially when the major finals at like 6 or 7 p.m. It's pretty late, so you have a lot of time to think
To
during
think
that
about
day.
it, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that was pretty good for me to kind of realize it wasn't nerves, but more like excitement finally to be back.
To be honest, like how much does it also like the team that you have right now? It's not a team that like this was the only major that you could ever win. Like if anything, feels like maybe 6 months from now you're going to be even better. Maybe you individually, like being 32 and all of that, it's maybe your best time to do it now rather than in 6 months. But it doesn't seem like this team has a cap on it in terms of like maybe some other teams that have internal issues or people getting gold, or like it feels like the team you have now is only going to get better, especially the young trio, right? How much does that take off the pressure, right, from the team?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was important when we started the team to say, okay, the major in November would be the one where we need to peak, right? By having that goal, also because we didn't have RobbaN at the major, and for me, that kind of took 5% off the team because he's so good at creating environment, making sure I'm staying the right path. He's in the communication and see the body language. He can react and he can take a pause, or he can talk with players after the game, like you need to improve on this and that, right? So there was a lot of responsibility on me in that sense to kind of take some of the roles RobbaN had, like doing the huddles. I never do the team talk, so that's something I had to do to kind of fire up the guys and do something different that I'm used to, right? So I think the problem was that we actually won 2 tournaments before that, and we were ranked number 1 in the world, so you could feel in the team that they were very confident, and this was the major they wanted to win, because NAVI was not in the best shape. I think ENCE played really good, and it was kind of mixed field of teams, right? I felt like everybody could go deep, but some could also crash out early. But yeah, the confidence was high in the team, and I'm not gonna take that away. I just tried to keep my head as low as possible and just say, like, if you work on this and try to make sure that we had some issues of some places that we worked on those at bootcamp to stay focused and not just think this is an easy way to the top 4 final, right? So, but yeah, it's hard. But like you said, this team is without egos. They're very young. They have a long career ahead of them. Well, maybe Twistzz will be the first 2-time Grand Slam winner, right? So I think for them to win that early in their career is really good, especially under this team with good mix of experience and young hungry players.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the video from FaZe, talking about the team huddles and that your huddle was Bobby. Was that the thing? What was going on there? Was that the level of inspiration that you had at the moment?
I think it's because when Robs came into the team, he's called RobbaN, and we call RobbaN. So we started calling RobbaN Bobby, and for me it was like some way just to keep the mentality of RobbaN, because he creates a really positive mindset that we're doing this for Bobby, because obviously it sucks for him to be banned. We all know about the story, so not gonna get into that, but I just want to make sure that he was in the spirit for the whole team, and kind of I think that's what we try to embrace, that his positiveness and how he sees the team and how he sees the game was like the spirit of him was in our game to never give up, you know. So I think that was us for the team, and yeah, we have 100% win rate with Bobby in the circle. So yeah, that's good.
I was gonna ask about that actually, because I found it curious that you guys had your manager kind of standing behind you. You know, previously you had in a shine when this happened last time in Stockholm. So was there any thought behind that, or why did you guys not end up using the analyst instead of the manager?
Yeah, so Innoshan is also going through some stuff, right? He's obviously from Russia. He has to relocate, and he has a family and stuff like that. We could have taken to the major, but also I feel like if we anyway gonna work with with RobbaN and analysts from outside, so like we do an outside with information they feed us, then I'd rather have those two at home working together, be on the same page, and then feed us with information. And the thing about our manager Eddie is creating so good vibes. Like, he's a really fun guy, and he's smiling. And there was one time he didn't know we took a timeout, and I could just see he said, "You guys are insane, man." And he didn't even know we talked. And then one round, he also made the laughing tactic. I talked with him because he has like a laugh that kind of makes people smile. So suddenly he started laughing, and everybody in the team had fun. You know, sometimes you forget as a pro to have fun. Like, sometimes honestly you work so many hours a day and you're just so focused on winning, that you forget to enjoy the moment and have fun. And I also think if people watch our voice comes from the final, we were laughing the first round of the major final because somebody's mic didn't work. And normally that can be very tilting, but in this moment, we just made something fun out of it. And I think this is the mindset of the team, which is very healthy, that you forget sometimes to have fun. It is in the end a video game, and that's why we started, right?
You think that's the biggest difference between this FaZe lineup that won the major and the Boston one? Obviously, that kind of the vibe of a very like light-hearted vibe.
Yeah, I think for sure. Like, I don't think we would have survived that old team. Some of the rounds we flew, like the NIP round on Inferno comes to mind, where we're hunting, and the 1v4 against Meg is against Spirit in overtime, and we just started the overtime and losing 1v4, right? And we are so good at brushing that off and saying this is just how it goes when we play. It's very exciting, and we just try to embrace the way we play CS, that we play with high risk, and we are gonna lose those rounds, but I also push forward. I told the guys rather than want them to over peak than under peak, because like we play the best when we're in the phase, and we play the best when people are peaking a little more than playing passive, because that creates the gaps for the team. And I think sometimes the old lineup we could overthink stuff, and I think me and RobbaN learned a lot from not overthinking losses, and that's also what we have done now with IEM Dallas, to like, okay, let's not overthink it, let's just keep going what we do, because we have won 3 out of 4 tournaments, right? So yeah, I think it is a key mentality difference between this team and other team, and maybe it also came down to some of the players won everything, and it's a little more hunger in the younger players to all the time improve as a player and as a human.
Yeah, I wanted to go to the actual major run and some of the matches that you had. In case Striker, you didn't have
No,
anything to ask.
I wanted to go there.
I think, yeah. What do you think was the most difficult game of the major? Because of watching it, I don't feel like of the final. Of course, winning it's the most important game. It's the game that wins you the trophy. But watching the game, it didn't seem as contested as some of the other ones. What was your kind of feeling from within the server?
I think game-wise, I got probably the most scared against NIP, right? And I think map-wise, we had a chance to close out to 0. We didn't. And coming into an Inferno, really strong map for us. But yeah, I mentioned the round before. That's a very expensive round that made NIP snowball right into a 8-3 lead. And at that point, we switched a flip and 168. So that could have been dangerous. But I think that the hardest game mentally wise for me as a caller and keep staying focused was the Spirit game. Somehow they never backed down. It kind of felt like we played ourselves. They threw some rounds, they won some insane rounds. It was back and forth, left and right. And I think for me it was just like they came from the like same mentality. Like it felt like we played against the team from Katowice from us. Like whatever happened, like you're never out of the round, you're never giving up, you're enjoying the moment, you're having fun, and no pressure, right? Because Spirit had no pressure with the way they played against us. So I would say mental wise, Spirit, and the most game I was scared of was probably an IP on third map. And like you said, Navi, I just think we played up to a higher level when we played Navi than when we played Spirit and NIP. Like the saying of playing up to your levels.
Your opponent.
Exactly, like a classic one. But I just think we stepped our game in the final and had a really good game plan on how to counter it. And then I also think Navi did a mistake in the V2 by picking Nuke, as that created like 5% confidence boost in the guys when I told what maps it is for the final. So yeah, I think yeah, that's it. I think those 3 games are like in some way very different from each other in like this perspective of where you are in the tournament and the mindset.
I remember when we were talking about the final just before it, I was like, I don't know if there's a favorite. Like I was looking at it because especially because of the way Navi had run through the tournament, right? Like they looked so confident. And you guys obviously had your struggles, as you were talking about with the NIP and Spirit games. Obviously, you had much more momentum in terms of like previous tournaments and stuff like that. But within the tournament, I was like, this is as 50-50 as it could get. Did you see it the same way or?
Yeah, for sure. I was happy that we were playing Navi in the final, and especially seeing how they like murdered that bracket. Like they were when they won against ENCE like that. I was like, okay, this game tomorrow is gonna be a banger, like we always want to say, right? And I was happy because I think like that would kind of sentiment who is the number 1 team in the world. Like I love a final where the winner can finally claim they're the first team in the world, right? Because I can imagine now we thought like, how did we always lose our spot as the #1 team, and we gained it really fast, right? So I was happy that was the case, because then we could truly call ourselves the best team in the world after the tournament if we win, and if not, then we could call the second best team, right? But like I said, I think before the veto, I was like, okay, this can be very interesting. But the second I saw the veto, I feel like it switched into our favor in how the maps look like, especially with our run we had on Nuke lately. So yeah. But yeah, Inferno was tough as well though.
I wanted to ask about Spirit, because for me it still doesn't really connect how they managed to be so good out of, I hate when people say out of nowhere, but in this case it was really out of nowhere. Even at the RMR, they got through, but it wasn't like super convincing in any way. But then as the tournament progressed, and especially that game against you guys, they looked pretty insane, and they had different players popping off. It just wasn't just like Dexter, and then there was a bit of Patsy, then it was a Siren. It's like, what do you think, what makes this team good?
I think it's a very hard question, because like you said, it's like the first time I play against them. And what I think happened was, like, because they beat FURIA that way for the first time on stage, they probably thought like it's easy to play on stage, right? And they rided that momentum right into us, because they played really good CS. And I just think there was somehow no pressure. They peak really good, and they shoot hard. Like, that's what I mean. Like, they go from having no expectations to do these peaks all the time. And I think we have to wait and see in 1 or 2 months if you can replicate that, because that's always the toughest thing when your career is going like instant up like that, that you're just doing and smiling, whatever you're doing, fighting, who cares if you lose the dude or not. But the second you play a lower ranked team, it's very hard to replicate that stuff, that you like have everything to win. And if they can do that, that can be very dangerous, because I always feel like Chopper is a very special guy in the way he sees the game. They go for stuff. Like, he doesn't have a limit on the guys. But like I said, I think they just had like a lot of. I think some of the players had the breakout tournament, and for them to all keep up the same level is very tough, I think. So yeah, if just one guy drops off 5-10%, that's enough for them not to be like a top 8 team, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, they did lose their one game that they played since the major. I think it was the only game to Finest 0-2, kind of close 0-2, but that's a classic post-major game, right? It's very difficult after having a good run in a big arena to come online and continue delivering. This is something that ENCE, for example, struggled with every time they had a breakout tournament. They'd go back online and they lose to whoever, right? Wouldn't qualify for the next one. And finally, now they're kind of figuring that out. Talking about, we almost touched on what winning the major itself kind of meant and all of that. I think in Katowice, if I remember correctly, you said that before the grand final that you rewatched the FaZe fnatic one, the best of 5 that you lost, right? Did you do a similar thing this time with the Boston major?
No, because I always knew what was wrong in Boston Major. And to short it down to 4 rounds is obviously, in my career, I have never won a round where I'm supposed to equal after I win the round. And I would have knew where it went wrong, because we won the round, survived 0 guys on the T side, and we have 3.2 back then. You didn't have to lose a bonus. So I'm about to play my first major grand final, up 15-12, and I'm gonna call Glock Eco after winning a round. And today I would have done it, and I think I did that in the NAVI final as well. We had some money, and I just said, let's buy Mac 10 and rush A, and we win the round and win the rest of the rounds after. So there was a moment where I had reflection of what it was wrong in the game. I didn't want to rewatch it, because it would be a completely different game than it was against NAVI, because NAVI is this at that point at the same level on this, like the 50-50 match, where the Cloud9 match was very, very strange, right? Against a team on paper who was dead before the major started, and we are huge favorites, right? So no, I decided not to do it. But I think the Katowice was special to. That was like the 3rd time I was in the final of Katowice. So maybe if it would be my 3rd major final, I would have done it. But this time I decided not to do it. That would be too much pain, I think.
Yeah. So next time you reach the major final, are you rewatching the Boston one or this one?
Probably were you watching this one. That was a little more fun to watch, I think.
Good vibes, just
Yeah,
good
good
vibes. Striker, did you have any questions about the winning of the major and like the post major stuff? Maybe something along the lines.
I mean, not necessarily, because we kind of ran through
I
it
guess
immediately.
the question is, how did you celebrate the major win? I didn't see you after party.
Yeah, we were at after party. We had apparently if you win the major, you had to get
Oh,
on
you had
table and
like
stuff.
the second,
Yes,
they were on the second
yeah.
floor. I know they were there.
We're looking all over the other guys, you know. But yeah, I obviously went out as a team, but like it's very hard to like the whole evening and the whole day is just a blur, right? So you celebrate with the loved ones and your teammates, and you just sometimes while you were up there in the after party, you're kind of feeling disbelief that you actually did it now, right? And yeah, had a lot of good talks with RobbaN. I had missed him for sure those 2 weeks.
Yeah, is it true? Okay, Note was saying this on Twitter, so I'm sure it's true. But is it like, did you hear broky say the thing like about RobbaN, but like once you guys won?
Yes.
What was the quote?
It's something like RobbaN, come, you're unbanned, or something like that. Yeah, it just shows how big like piece of importance it is for many of the players, right? Like the championship style or mentality style he brings to the team.
So this is kind of the not the difficult part, but getting on top and then staying on top, and the schedule that we have in CS, where like for me it seemed like one day between the major in Dallas, and I can imagine how it was for you guys. What do you do between? I feel like practicing more than like one day is too much to expect after the major.
Yeah, so obviously after winning the major, we have been having like an 8 days boot camp before the major started. So that was like 3 weeks on the road on like high pressure, high focus thing. When I watched the major final, everybody had 120 hours plus, right? And that's without preparation and stuff like that. So after the major, I remember waking up Tuesday and Wednesday, waking up thinking I need to prep because like I've been prepping for like 3 weeks, like new tactics and anti-tactics. So it was very strange. Normally I sleep 12, 13 hours after tournaments, like 2 or 3 days, but I couldn't do that. I could only sleep 6 hours. So mentally drained for sure. And yeah, we had 1 day of practice, and then I had to do some merit stuff to be able to get married in August. So I flew even 1 day later to Dallas. So we couldn't even practice when we arrived in Dallas because I arrived like was it 16 hours before our first game. So this the schedule was tough, and I think we talked within the team. Okay, we all agree we're never gonna reach 100% of this tournament. So if we have 85, 90, just do our best in the circumstances we have, and we just kind of said if there's one tournament you kind of want to do bad in, this is the one. We should not even think about the Grand Slam right now. It's still a long season and stuff like that. So I was happy we made the playoff because like it could have been worse, honestly. Like one rough first day, and you have to go through a very very tough group in the lower bracket. So I expected a little high level maybe when we went to the quarterfinal, but I also think Cloud9 played some of the best years in the arena so far. And it was a tight game, and there was like the first time this year that somebody came back against us. Like
Yeah,
we always closed out the situation, and I was a little frustrated after the game, but then I thought to myself, you know what, you can't always close out games constantly, and we have to lose at some point, and we just use this as fuel now, and now we have like 4 days of practice for Blast, right? So we have some time to get in, yeah.
we also had another loss to ENCE during that tournament. They've definitely been, yeah, I think it's been like 50-50 between you two guys since the start of the year or something like that, or at least since you guys changed lineups. What do you think? Obviously, this time they didn't have SPUNJ, but clearly they were still a pretty big thorn in your side. So what is it that makes them so difficult to play against for you guys?
It's a good question because obviously we wanted to pick Ancient, which was based off that we didn't practice Ancient before tournament. And if you want to win the tournament, I think we should be playing like all of the maps we have in our map pool for the tournament. So I think what happened was also now we made the playoff. We somehow always lose this match that's not the back against the wall. And I think they played great CS, and there was a lot of off things in that game. And I think actually, when we talk with the guys, the ENCE game felt more frustrating for us than the actually Cloud9 game, because we felt we lost more to ourselves in the ENCE game. And yeah, it's like second time we lose to ENCE, so there's a group stage match and two group stage matches, right? And we beat them in the final of the Pro League. So yeah, if we lose an elimination match next time to them, then obviously we have to see if it's the map pool or whatever it is, right? So in the final, we kind of caught them off guard with banning Nuke, right, which is their key map, and we played vertical there. So we are doing some stuff to kind of figure out what we can do to have an upper hand against them, right? But I also think they're in a really good shape right now. They shoot really hard, and if they can keep that up, they're definitely the contender to the first place at some point, right? And right now they're right behind us. So if you meet them in Blast, we definitely have to show that we are the #1 team in the world.
Yeah, I mean that veto in the Pro League finals was also kind of interesting in the way that usually people would say, "Oh, you're the favorite. You don't need to do something crazy with the veto, right? You just play to your strengths, do what you want to do." But like the approach that you had was the opposite of that, right? So do you see them as being like one of the teams that are like the most challenging in the scene for you guys right now?
I think what people did wrong in Pro League was not respecting the map pool. For me, since I can't remember since like I played against Snappy 8 years ago, he always had a very strong nuke. The way he sees the game, the way he understands the game and reads the game. So, for me, you just have sometimes to respect the opponent at that point. And like you said, everybody was on point on playing vertical as we have been practicing it, but we are not at the high level yet, and we felt it was a good time to kind of show it. And I said to guys, we might not even win nuke, right? It's maybe 55-45 to them at that point. So yeah, it was. I think it was just like not respecting that way, and make sure that we're ready to play whatever map you guys want and stuff like that. So I think for sure people haven't respected their map pool, and that's why they're doing really good. And once you are top 3 team stable, people start to try to pick other maps and try to test your map pool even deeper. And that's why you have to see how good ENCE is. Because right now on paper they have really good like a core maps of 3 maps like Nuke, Ancient, and can't remember the last one. But yeah.
Yeah,
What do you make? Okay.
Yeah, go.
What do you make of Cloud9 and how legit this win is for them? Obviously, in the final, they went up against a team that didn't have a full lineup, but the win against you guys is the one that I think convinced a lot of people, especially with the way that you were talking about it. You know how it went. Do you think this is kind of like the Cloud9 that we can expect further, or how did you feel about playing them?
Yeah, I mean, Cloud9 kind of changed the way they approach the game against towards us, because what I figured out that worked every time against them, it was obviously manipulate rotations. And when you're on the stage, you kind of tend to do 5% too fast reaction or 5% too slow reaction, right? And it felt like that a clear game plan. Whatever fakes or moves I was doing on the T side, they would not move. They would not even repush for information. So sometimes we would go into a stack where the older Cloud9 player on the stage, they would kind of have moved out of position already to kind of be in front of where the T's are going. So they clearly had a good plan on how to counter us. And it's always tough when you beat a team 3 or 4 times in a row. Then they have to constantly adapt and constantly learn from the mistakes, and it's really hard always to. That's the best team in the world. It's always hard to always stay on top of what people are gonna adapt or react towards you. Towards you, I can have an idea of what they wanna try in vetoes and in the game, but I think I realized too late that they're actually not moving, and I also think that hurt us on the third map. That I had a game plan on manipulate the rotations, but it didn't really happen, and so now we know to next time what they kind of can throw at us, right? So I think by doing that, the way they handled the game against us, they kind of had confidence. Like, this is our first read. We stay with the read until the round is over. And I remember playing them on other arenas where I kind of felt they were shaking every decision they made. And I think this win now for them is really important to kind of sentiment they are a really good team. And if you look at their last arena matches, all matches been against us, right? So it's really tough to kind of see how they meshed up, and it seemed like they gained that 5% extra confidence by beating us to kind of take home the trophy.
Yeah, I mean,
do you see them as a threat moving forward, as kind of like another, title contender that you're gonna have to go up against?
For sure. I think next time is Cologne, right? We have to see if they make the playoffs. They are top 4 ranked team now, and like for me, when you get on a top 3, top 4, it looks very shaky in what teams is gonna be the next top 3 team, right? I think it's very kind of set now with us, ENCE, and NAVI, and then Cloud9 is there ready to take over if NAVI is not performing, right? So yeah, for sure, I feel like they can be also a very dangerous threat, especially if now they can also have this arena buff and play good in the arena, because that's what I felt they missed. And I think it's the same with Heroic, right? They're really good at group stage, and they just lack that big win in an arena that makes Heroic dangerous. Because they're also a really good team, but it all just comes down to confidence. Like that's also what I always feel like when a team knows how to win a tournament and they actually won a tournament, then they actually understand they can win. Like for me, Cloud9 probably think, yeah, we can win this tournament, but they don't understand inside themselves that they actually can win it. And there's a key difference. And I think the same happened to us in Mouse. There's like one scenario where we won the tournament in China, being down 15-7. We were in tournament, and everybody understands in the team we can win tournaments now. And it's just a mental switch that you cannot give that to players. The players have to like live the moment to understand that they can be on top of the world. And I think that's why I think Cloud9 can be very dangerous. And that's also what ENCE needs right now, is just they're so close to win, but yet so far in some sense, right? Because now they got smashed in the final, even though they had a stand-in.
same
But
against you guys in Pro League.
yeah, exactly, right. And that's the thing. We won with JKS in the final in like against D2, right? 3-0. So it's just always time. It's very hard to finish the job, even though we make a good job the whole tournament.
Yeah, I mean the Cloud9 game against you guys was super interesting. Exile, of course,
Oh
individually
yeah, it was a god.
insane. That was kind of it's stupid to call it the breakout moment when he has like 3 MVPs, but his MVPs were during the online phases, and whatever people want to say, like this is a kind of a new step for him as a player. But just the way they played, as you said, like confidently taking fights, not really shying away. Usually you'd see them, they're kind of a team that's super comfortable, just like playing passive CT sides. But like that Mirage game, you come up A, they're fighting all the time. Like they're just extending, double peeking, doing whatever. And that is something that we didn't see from them before. It was always kind of playing the numbers, but then the numbers just leave you not doing anything. Like it seemed like the rounds would just fall apart without them even taking duels, right?
Yeah.
And that was the difference that I saw in the game against you guys, and especially when you have Exile playing like that, then magic happens, right? It was some of the most insane rounds we saw in quite some time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
for me, Cloud9 has the last 2 years been the best percentage CS. Like they've been the best CS to play the percentage right. And especially the online, it's easy to play the percentage constantly because there are no crowd, nothing that can interfere with how you see the game. You don't get the adrenaline pop when you're like doing 1 headshot, 2 headshots. But you want to go for the third on stage, right? And that's what I always tell my players. If you have the feeling, you just go for it. Where it can be dangerous for other players. If you have this percentage, you take the duel, you fall back, you figure out a new plan, you play the round down as opposed to, right? And it felt like they went a little off the basics and they took some more aggressive duels, which I think is the way CS is played now with the meta we are setting and ENCE setting is like high aggressive plays, never give the enemies time to play the percentage. And that has been the key thing for us against Cloud9, that we never gave them the chance to figure out the percentage of this round and how they need to play it down. Because like I said, if you play the basic games against Cloud9, we probably lose. If we play that game, we lose because we cannot beat them at their best game. But we can create a very chaotic situations where they are on the stage and they cannot react in time because the circumstances are differently. And I think that was the key thing I saw from Cloud9 now, that they kind of shied a little away from what they normally do, which added some extra layer to their game. And if they can replicate that, and that's the same thing I said about Spirit, the way they play it, it's very hard to replicate constantly at a high level, and it takes experience to constantly peak, even though you're not at your 100% individually form.
yeah, it's kind of like that killer instinct. I think Moses was saying that that's always something that's Cloud9 had been lacking.
Yeah.
Because they almost play too safe. You just know what to expect from them because they're always going to play percentages, like you said. Like they're always going to play the situation. But sometimes you do have to have that one player just like take it into his own hands and not give a shit about what the percentage is. They just have to go for it because they want to finish it off. And that's definitely something that Cloud9 had been lacking, and that's something that we did see during this event from them a lot more.
Before we go into like Cloud9 Dallas too much, I had just had a thought when you talked about the percentage game, strategic play, and all of this. There's this quote from Zonic, who obviously went from the Danish team to an international team, and he made this comment about what is it? Team play and tactical elements are limited in international teams compared to like single nation, one country or language teams. And then people obviously pointed towards you instantly, and that. What do you think about his comment? What does that say to you?
It makes sense. I mean, you're never gonna have the. You're always gonna have 5% faster communication and thinking as in a native language. That's for sure. Like you're always gonna think faster. You're gonna react faster. There's never gonna be, if your voice changes a little bit, you're never like fishing for the word. Like we had a game here where the word that was used had a massive impact compared to what he actually meant. Like in that sense, they're using English word, it can have a different sense of like what's happening in the round. And I was saying, like, if somebody we walk through mistakes, like if you said this instead of that, which is the same but a different word, people would automatically understand in a better way. So for sure that's gonna happen in an international team. But what I was trying to do is like I'm never gonna create the best team play. I'm never gonna create like the best player. But my POV is like if you have 4 individual players that sees the game a little different, but I can connect those pieces where they like mesh together. That's where I feel like international team is really, really dangerous. Where everybody plays their own style, but have a bigger voice that kind of lead the team into how you want to play the macro round, right? So I don't know how it is in other teams, but obviously I do a lot of calling. When I'm alive, I'm creating a lot of space. I'm reading the game to set up my players to perform, right? So I agree with team play is always going to be hard in international team, but it always depends how many percent you get on the other side. If you get like individually better players that play their roles to perfection, I think that could be even better than team play, because sometimes in a 3-3, it's not about team play. It's sometimes that one crisp duel you're taking changes the round.
So do you
Yeah.
think it's almost almost kind of need to take the route of being more of an individualistic team as you have obviously with pretty much every team that you've played with since Astralis? You've always had this kind of same approach, at least like on a wide level. I'm not saying that these are the same teams. Obviously, you've played with pretty damn different teams. If you look at Miles and FaZe, but is that something that you kind of need to do as an international team? If you look at Vitality and their approach as a comparison, maybe.
I think it's a hard question actually, because like if you take the Vitality and Astralis, you take 2 big differences in playing philosophies. The French CS and the Danish CS is 2 different ways to approach the game, right? If you look at our team, you have a Robs who always played in an international team. He knows the environment, he knows how I think. So obviously the way I have played with him in Mouse, that something stuck with him. So that's how he sees the game, when to take the duel, when not to take the duel, and understand the macro of the game, right? And you have Rain always playing an international team, me always playing an international team. So for me, it's always been important as an IGL, and I think you learned that down the line, to create a philosophy, because you don't have one. You don't have a work ethic in the team. You don't have anything in the team. Anything that's like normal for you in when you go to work in Denmark, this is what time you meet in, this is how you work, this is where you take the breaks, this is how you are towards your colleagues. All that in inside the team, it's different. Like broky's personality might be normal in his country, where a broky personality in Denmark would be very like, it's hard to work with, for example, right? So if you create that environment and make sure that you scratch everything you learned, because now we have to create our own work environment. And I think that's the problem Vitality have, that the Danish players are bringing something they want to implement, and the Frenchies have something, and they're never going to meet. Like, it's going to be back and forth on how you see CS. So by having an in-game leader that has been international for a long time, his job is to create the work environment how you see the game, and then he has to put the individual players into the perfect spots where they feel they're playing their own game, but they're kind of playing what I want them to play in that sense, right?
Okay, so I wanted to ask about something kind of like super off topic at the moment, but
There you go.
I've just like from kind of watching you guys talk after games, whether you lose or win, I always see Twistzz being kind of like the guy who's the first to kind of initiate talks about like what's going to happen. I feel like he's only developed into that more recently. I'm not sure whether necessarily with FaZe, but that's what it sounds like to me almost, that he's kind of like developed into kind of like that secondary leader role almost with you guys. Can you elaborate on what his contribution to the team is and how like and this kind of like the way he behaves?
Yeah, I think there's something that Twistzz took with him from Liquid, right? I think for my POV, they had a lot of issues in Liquid on how to see the game eye to eye, and if something went wrong, it was this and that. So for me, it's always good to have Twistzz like coming to me and say, "Hey, this is what wrong." He has a POV of how it went wrong, and I'm always very carefully like stepping on his toes or overthinking the situation. But for me, it's very important that okay, he comes with a POV. Do I agree or do we agree so as a team? Because like his POV is always what he saw from his screen, right? I have to understand how everybody felt in the game and like why was one player off? Was it the way I was calling or whatever? And for me, it's really good to have Tristan coming to me, just being honest, like, hey, we played really bad. When I moved here, somebody didn't move. Okay, then from his POV, he kind of felt like he did the right thing, but somebody didn't react. But maybe the player didn't understand exactly what Trish wanted to do. So I think by having that, it's very important that we don't have these too many team talks on this is the issue, this is and this and this. Because I learned to overthink is a massive issue in that sense that you want to boil the game down to what was the key thing that happened. Like, so did you lose because of duels? Then we don't need to think about everything else because if you lost a lot of duels, your communication is not the same way. We're human beings. So if you have 10 frags and you are missing a lot of shots, your communication is never going to be 100%. It's going to be 90%, right? So if we start attacking the player for communicating bad in that game, then we also have to see the fact that they had a very rough game. You have to understand his POV that it's like you kind of fall into a slump in a game. So yeah, I think it's really good that players come with these POVs that's how to see the game because then we can have a talk about it. Like, because I obviously have a view of how everybody acted. If nobody took initiative. I can, for example, sometimes I will say the team I felt had no help in that sense that when I said something, nobody reacted. When I created space, nobody reacted. And then some of the players say, we reacted, you know? So you have this good work environment and conversations where people can come with ideas. And I think it's very healthy as long as nobody's going behind each other's backs or we're talking about as an upper level that we all here want to win. And yeah, I think me and RobbaN's experience is always don't attack the smaller issues, then try to figure out the bigger issue in the game we lost than small stuff that happened.
Yeah, I mean that's also easier when you have like 3 top 10 players in your team, right? You don't really need to teach them how to throw a smoke or how to jiggle peek a corner.
Sometimes I need to
Okay, the
remind
smoke,
them.
the smoke parts maybe not Robs, but maybe the other couple players. But yeah, I think these are some of the tips. Like if you're ESEA open team, maybe they don't work for you, right? Because you don't have Robs and Twistzz and broky in your team. So maybe you do need to focus on the small things because otherwise you're not going to develop because you're simply not a good player. But when you have the, I'd say the blessings that you have on the team right now, it does function a bit differently. Same with like any superstar roster that is built. There's one thing that I want to ask as well. Obviously, we had Rain being the MVP, which gave us the oldest major MVP ever, and also the oldest major winner ever. Like kind of a two-part question. Like the first part is Rain. Like how does this happen? Like where does this form come from for him? And then I'll ask the next later.
Yeah, I think that there's two things, right? When I joined the team, I knew Rain was in a slump. It has been very rough for him and the old team and in the way they saw the game, and he had to create space constantly. Nobody created space for him at any point in the game, right? So my main thing when I came into FaZe was getting Rain back to a level where we can expect him to perform. he might not never reach 2017 level, but oh man, he did at the major. Like, and I think what is light inside him. I think 2021 was tough. The direction of the team was tough. I couldn't really direct the way I wanted. We were not connecting, and then obviously we had Olof stepping in to stabilize thing. And I think that's where we started to see Rain popping off a little more in the tournaments, as he felt more comfortable with the environment and just the personalities in the team. But the second we got Robs, then I saw the confidence from the Rain 2017. I saw the grind from 2017, because everybody's in prac room and you never want to be the first guy to leave prac room. So he kept playing until I left at like 1 or 2 a.m. because I'm waking up earlier than other guys. Okay. So I think that helped him a lot. And I think when I talked a little bit with him, he has just so much confidence in this team, and he thinks this team on so many levels is better than the other one, in the way, the mentality, the way we are social with each other, the way we work together. But the other team had a lot of good players, match players in that sense. It was big players, but here there's a lot of room for everyone to be themselves in that sense. And I think the team learned now that when Rain is feeling it, you don't tell him don't peek in a 4-4, because the second you say don't peek, he will strafe and kill 2 guys. So I think I remember there was a round in the major final against NAVI where he said don't peek, and then Hovi said don't tell me not to peek, and he went out, peeked 2 guys and killed them. And then I was
Mic
smiling.
drop moment.
Yeah, I was smiling. That's the Rain I know from the old days, where like this is the guy, when he peaks like that, he creates such a huge confidence in the team, because when you see the duels he takes, it's very strange sometimes, and he's a savage when he does it, and it just creates this environment. Everybody wants to peak now, where everybody wants to make these highlights that Rain does sometimes. So yeah, I think he finally found his place in the team. Obviously winning MVP, I was so happy for him. Like, he has stuck around for a long time, and he was always the guy who was overshadowed in all the teams I played with him, right? The old team and this team. But some way he always found a way to put his name there in the conversation on one of the best players. And I'm just so happy it happened at the major. And I remember talking to him before the final. He was confident.
Yeah, the second part of the question is, what do you think about the? It's a classic and kind of boring question, but with this context, it's kind of interesting. Are we pushing, or are you pushing the age limit in CS? Like, is the future going to be like more older players? I know we still have players with like Cloud9, for example. Like, aside from Hobbit, everyone's like doesn't have facial hair at all. So are we also going to see players like playing through like 35 and stuff like that? Like, I know I'm the same, so it doesn't really matter.
Prof is like in his 30s, 0 facial hair. He just like grows like a tiny bit of a mustache.
I can do this,
suddenly, like, the whole narrative.
And now I'm bullying Nafani for no reason. You're the same.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, right? I think I've answered a few times, but if you also look carefully on my statistics, like let's say this year, besides IEM Dallas, I would say I played the best years in I can remember, like as a caller, as a player individually. And I just think it comes with the motivation you have for the game, the way you work. Like, now I work smarter than I work more like when I was younger, obviously, right? I understand the game more. I understand it's more important to be mentally ready for the game than playing deathmatch for 3 hours before the game. So there's a lot of different things I try to improve every day, but also the thing when you get above 30, there is family. There is like obviously pressure to kind of what is your next in life, right? And I'm in this perfect scenario with my loved ones around me that I can do this until I don't want to. And this creates no pressure. Like, for me, I love every single moment what I'm doing. I love losing sometimes, strange as it is, but it just makes me work harder when I get home, right? So with these young players, I think it pushed on the older guys, and also see the way Rain works now. He got pushed by the way Twistzz, broky, and Robs see in the game, because they play and they train differently than some of the other players, the older players, did. So yeah, I think it comes down to, in the end, if you really want to do this, you can keep doing it. And I think with me as a caller, now on the majors 32, and Rain was like the oldest MVP so far, it obviously pushed the boundaries, and we haven't seen the end of it yet. That's all the thing, that the scene is getting older, right? So we have some players soon turning 30, and we have to see how they react. Right? It is a long time. I've devoted my life to CS. It's like 20 years now, basically, right? And 15 of them is basically pro CS.
You were
Yeah.
talking about the confidence levels in the team. Do you feel like it's rubbing off on broky, especially? Because I feel like, okay, so the way I look at broky, or I used to look at broky, is obviously he was kind of like a very passive player, and you can still see that he has that tendency. Like, obviously he's more passive than he is aggressive, but you obviously see him go for peaks that, like, it seems like it's in that category of peaks you were talking about. If you want to peak, just peak, you know. So like, is that rubbing off on him?
I think he realized that I think differently than obviously the NiKo, Yanko, Coldzera era he played under. For me, as a young player, if you play under those guys and they control how you see the game, how you play the game, they see it very different than me, right? I always try to. I rather want people to fail than I want them to play perfect CS from day one. So for me, I had so broken from day one. Just peak, 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 peak. I played with Voxic. I'm pretty sure he cannot peak more than he did. So I want him just to push his limits, right? And I still think it's a work in progress. I see still he's trying to look at his T side stats, the opening duels, but also make sure that I don't want him to force it. He doesn't need to go for openings. We have aggressive players who can do the openings, but every time he wants to do something on the T side, I'm like, let's go. This is broky. But sometimes when he wants to do a peak, I have a feeling he just like this the moment and he goes and does the entry, and I'm always trying to tell him after the game, insane call that you wanted to go there in this moment. So I'm trying to enforce it as much as I can. But I definitely think on CT side when he started with OP is peaking more and more, and I think it's good for him because I think sometimes like when the round is taken down, then he maybe thinks different about the game. But if the moment he wants to peak, in my opinion, he should do it. And if obviously we lose games a few times, then I have to see if like I pushed him too much over the edge. But yeah, I just think it's different philosophies from what his first pro team was under the first iteration of phases. It's way different how you handle mistakes in that old phase compared to how me and RobbaN look at it.
Yeah. Finn is an enabler, essentially, just enabling any kind of behavior, good or bad. Just like go out and do stuff, you know. Go have fun, kid.
Yeah.
You can play passive when you're 32 or not,
or even more aggressive.
or even more aggressive.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's not the carrigan way, man.
no, but honestly, like looking at your individual, like you. Obviously, the whole individual level average on the pro scene has risen, right? And especially when you go and play against like Spirit, for example, which are the youngest team they were the youngest team at the major, like 20 years on average, something like that. Just like watching you play against them, it's definitely you're playing better now than 2 years ago. I think maybe the stats don't reflect on that because everyone else got so much better, but you're definitely better individually than you were a couple of years ago. And I think some other players, like older players, aren't really following the same path, and it's not easy. I think you did one interview, I don't know, maybe it was HLTV Confirmed or somewhere else, where you're talking about like watching Rob's peak angles and trying to like pick up things off of him, trying to be more diligent, and the way he like places crosshair, how he peaks, how he strafes. I think like I'll call out Apex right now. I think he is the inverse of that. Like he has been playing the same like individual style for so long, and that kind of it goes to show. Like sometimes when he's on, he can pull off amazing things, but it's not like that. All of the older players are managing the same thing. So it's just an interesting kind of vibe to not a vibe, but a thing to follow up on and to watch kind of how some players are adapting, some aren't, or finding their own style essentially.
I also think the word is just curiosity, right? Like
Mm.
I remember asking RobbaN why he's not playing DM. Because he gets tired of DM in that sense that why are you training DM for like 30 minutes when the rounds is basically 1 minute, right? Your arm is constantly on a DM, is under high pressure. Where if you're playing against bots, you can play 1 minute, break 15 seconds, play 1 minute. So like interesting. Instead of like saying why you're not playing, you know, in that sense, I'm trying to understand the younger generation, the younger players, and it's the same as with Boomers. Like when he joined Mouse, he made insane spray chant. So like, how did you do that? I trained it. Yeah, I'm like, literally just asking the question. I'm the oldest one. I should know how to do it, but obviously want to hear his POV. He just train against aimbots. I'm like, okay. Then I go train it for like 2 weeks, and I do my first real spray transfer. Like that paid off, you know. Like
Yeah.
in that sense that I'm just trying to be like open-minded to everything, because if I am not open-minded, I'm gonna be the old guy who doesn't know how to call CS anymore, right? So that's also why I'm watching demos and trying to understand, okay, which team is playing different style and understand why they play the style. Is the players, is the in-game leader, the coaching staff. So I just think like it's really important everything in life to be curiosity and never think you're better than others, because then you never improve, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a good
Hello,
note to end off on. Finally, we are almost there. We're almost like, yeah, we're finishing this phase thing, and then like 20 minutes later, we open some cool topics. So I don't think anyone's gonna be too upset about it. I think we're gonna move towards Dallas a bit and talk about like what happened there, about some of the other teams that you faced or maybe didn't face. And we're gonna start with the N1 moment, which is our feature sponsored by N1Bet, where we kind of just highlight something cool, a nice moment that happened during the last week. And I think there are a lot of cool things. The Snax storyline was super cool. Him coming back, playing in a top team, getting to the final, playing like in the end he was the highest rated player for ENCE. We had the ESL Impact going down, had like amazing viewership. Women's CS kind of taking off, which is a cool storyline as well. But I think the Cloud9 storyline, unfortunately, like on your expense, kind of beating FaZe and that arena just got them going, essentially got the fans on the behind them. That's essentially what we're bringing up at some point here. Moses put out a tweet just saying how all of the Cloud9 jerseys were sold out after the victory, and then after that there's also the chanting and everything that was going, the support that they got after the win against FaZe, and then the semis, and then the grand final. That's a very small video, but we're gonna figure it out. Essentially,
the wrong way around.
Essentially, it's the support that they got, which they never got, right? This team, when they were Gambit, they were always kind of underdogs, not really super liked. Yeah, they finally have some support, and funnily enough, it's a Russian team in the middle of the US that's being like supported like never before.
Yeah, that was actually a really big surprise to me, because I'd missed a lot of Dallas, but I started watching basically the FaZe Cloud9 series and then the final, and I was so surprised by how well received this team got, actually. By, like you say, it's a Russian team in America, and of course it's an American organization, but still, a lot of the time, I guess it is a lot down to Cloud9, because they have a lot of like a really strong fan base that is a core fan base to the organization and not the teams necessarily that they had. So it's just an interesting thing for me that they warmed up to the US crowd so quickly.
Yeah. Just a nice moment. Nothing super special, but kind of cool to highlight. I mean, talking about Dallas, we talked about Cloud9 quite a bit. I think after their victory against you guys, it was kind of smooth sailing in terms of the next opponents. ENCE in the final. Who am I missing now? IEM Dallas in the semis. It was big. Yeah, I mean big. Yeah, also lost the first map, but the two other maps were quite comfortable for them overall. Hobbit came alive. There was NAVI had a couple of good overpass games. Exile was obviously the MVP. Shiro delivering as things moved on. It was just an overall, I don't know, just Cloud9 doing what they were supposed to do for quite some time, and after the FaZe win, it was kind of destined for them.
Yeah.
Striker, what are your thoughts on the Cloud9 win?
No, I was talking about the killer instinct stuff. I think that's the biggest part for them. I'm hoping that they do keep it up for future events, because that is what they've been missing. Like, we've been talking about this forever, basically, like ever since we got back to line. Like, we know they are a good team, but they are just missing that 5%, where they go after it, where they don't let the other team dictate the pace, and they're the ones who want to go for the play, stuff like that. It's just this is like the next level of play that they always needed to bring into their arsenal, and they finally started showing some of that. So I'm hoping that this is the Cloud9 that we can see in the future, so we have another team who's kind of like at that level, who's kind of finally fulfilling their potential.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the energy for the rant right now. My throat is still kind of
I
sore.
know what's coming.
But I did tweet. I did make a tweet. People were upset about it. I'll just explain in 3 minutes why CEOs lifting trophies. It's not even lifting trophies. The fact is, you know, people who wins the tournament, who's the winner of the tournament? It's actually the 5 players and the coach. It's actually the people that are on the stage when the match is going live, when you play, when you're on the server. These are the players who are the winners, right? They should be the players that are there, the people that are lifting the trophy. I feel like that is a very non-controversial statement. And when you go through the galleries of all of the tournaments that we had in the last 10 years in CSGO, see how many of these trophy shots are filled with like CEOs lifting the trophies. It's like 3, 5, 10 maybe out of 200 tournaments that we had. And like 2 of these tournaments are Cloud9. And one is the major, one is now this. And the problem is people are going to be saying, oh, but obviously Jack was there. He wanted them to lift the trophy. But the problem is, why is he even there? He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be on the stage before people lift the trophy. Like, why is this a thing? Like, FaZe also had at the major some FaZe people there. Should they come out? Like, the moment that you win the game, they just all come out, bring out all of the girlfriends. Like, why is your girlfriend not lifting his trophy? She also did a lot of things. Like, this whole argument that he signed them and therefore he allowed them to win the fucking IEM Dallas trophy. What is this? Like, everyone has like some impact on the team. Like the person that's an accountant in Cloud9 also put in some effort for them to, you know, someone needed to put together a contract. The lawyer there, is that guy gonna lift the trophy as well? What is this bullshit? Like, fucking Exile, Nafani, after all the shit that they went through, obviously winning online, then being called onliners, choking at the major, choking in playoffs, like always underperforming. They finally have their moments like, fuck yeah, we won this shit. We beat FaZe. We beat all these good teams. The crowd is cheering for us. This is their moment to lift the fucking trophy. Them, not anyone else. No one else should be there. Just them. Lift the fucking trophy. Enjoy the moment. That's it.
Any thoughts, Karrigan?
Well,
that's it.
I mean, I think as players, we did few mistakes when we let the stand-ins lift the trophies in some tournaments, because after I remember, you know, you might never win another tournament. Like, these moments are very precious, right? Like, honestly, they are, because like for me, lifting a trophy is like, that's what you play for. This is the first time in my career, for example, in the catch, I said I want to lift this trophy. I've been looking at this trophy for 2 times in the final, and I had to pack my gear and leave the trophy, right? So, but then the major, I didn't want to do it, but I got pushed to do it in that sense. And for some players, it means something. For me, it's just like all the hard work you do within 5 seconds is where you lift it, right? And you get the confetti on. And I think it's just it's a pressure moment where you want everyone to kind of be able to lift the trophy in their career. It's a small thing, but in my opinion, it's a precious moment you don't play with. But if that's what they want to do, like, I think it's in some way they maybe want to show Jack the love that he helped them with the situation they're in. But if it's every single time, then yeah.
But of course, I mean, the thing is, like,
I mean, you could tell that they
they're
really
the
wanted
nicest,
him, you know.
they're the nicest guys ever. Like, I mean, maybe not the nicest, but they're super nice, super shy. A fucking anime team. Like, what are they gonna do? Like, the guy that just signed them, helped them, he's right there in front of the trophy. That's why I said the problem is not him lifting or being a part of or touching the trophy ever. Of course, like, there's gonna be but that first moment is for the players. That, like, the confetti drop, the explosion, the music, that is supposed to be just them there and lift it. And then after that moment, then people join and whatever, you know, you have your photo shoots, you hug it, you cry with it, you do whatever the fuck. Yeah, that's just like my mini rant. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
You actually told me, man. Like, I was gonna be the voice, not with the voice of reason, but maybe like the devil's advocate. But you actually sold me. You're right.
That was a good rant. 9 out of 10.
Yeah,
but it's like, you know, it was like, because for me, when I saw that, I thought I saw, like, obviously it wouldn't have happened if Jack wasn't there, and there wouldn't be that need or whatever it is, you know. But I could tell that the Gambit guys, like, all of them were just like, go lift it, you go lift it, you know. So it's like, it was cute to a degree that where, like, they really wanted to show their appreciation for that, you know, for getting signed by such a big organization, considering the risk that Cloud9 is taking, you know, this is a Russian team. Obviously, you know, they're going to get a lot of flack for that for a lot of reasons, right? Not signing an American team when, you know, the American scene is struggling, blah, 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 all of that stuff, right? So like there's a lot of risk that Cloud9 took. And I thought this was a really nice gesture from the team to kind of show their appreciation and just getting them out of a bad situation, right? So like I was in that camp where I was totally okay with it just because of this reason. But this was more like a one-time thing, though. Like I wouldn't have definitely liked if it just kept going like this.
No,
you know?
it doesn't have to be a normal thing. I
No.
think
Yeah.
this one I can accept, but I'm also
You're looking at them if they ever do it again.
Yeah, then I'm running up there. I helped them win their first trophy, by losing. So.
That's true.
That reminded me of that Instagram story, the Instagram question that I told you before we went live. There was just a question. Hey, karrigan, can you let Vitality or G2 win one time, please?
But we all want to Vitality, though, no? From the Pro League, they won against the Outsiders, which made us go through to the playoffs. So,
so you need to return the favor.
Yeah, we have to beat someone for them to go through. We can't just lose to them, right? But who knows? Maybe play Vitality in Glass. So have to wait and see.
I don't know. I feel like even if you wanted to lose to them now, it would be difficult.
You can always lose again. Trust me.
Yeah, I don't know. Vitality,
you can always find a way. Yeah, that's like you can it's so tough sometimes.
I mean, when you look at some of these clips of like these games that have been like probably that have been thrown, it looks very difficult to lose some games. That's all I'm saying. These people really have to try. Yeah, that's Cloud9. ENCE, we also talked about ENCE, so we can skip through that and we can go. Let's go to Big and FURIA, since these two teams that made the semis. Who did you play any of these teams? And no, I don't think so.
No, they're another group.
I think for me the big one was again kind of impressive. I think they showed what I maybe expected from them at the major. Low-key, like FaZe is the least noticeable player on the server of any top 30 teams. I feel like he has good games, but almost never pops off in a way. But he's a really good signing overall. This kind of low-key improvement signing. But Crimbo has been he kind of reverted back to his old form. I feel like from the RMR, where he's just an amazing player. Honestly, he's a really good talent. Like there's a lot of potential in this guy to do some stuff moving forward. Though there are still question marks. Twistzz, and I feel like Searson again on LAN, and especially in the arena, not really up to the level that Big we're probably hoping for. I don't know where to throw this. karrigan, what do you think?
I think Big is a question mark in that sense. You never really what you're gonna get. I think Twistzz is always calling a good game, have a good way of playing the game and calling, and I think B is adding a lot to the team. But like you said, I think Susan, Twistzz can be question mark sometimes in the game. But somehow I feel they can be very dangerous team. If they have a good reader and they prep good for the game, and he hit that Gabi and Twistzz hit right in the game, it's tough to play them because sometimes I feel like maybe the Vigil is not playing the best, but they're getting a lot of easy kills. Like it's not often I see them often get easy kills like that's a cheap kill, and I think out of top 30 team they're probably getting the most cheap kills you can in a game. And that's because they play really good team play and they have a good understanding what to do what, and that can be down to the prep they do. So if the players is just like 5% more like consistently, I think they can be a very, very stable top 10 and they can move further because right now I like the trajectory as a team. Like I think they did really good at the RMR. Then they came to the major. It was a little tough, so they went a little down the trajectory, and here they went up again. So I think the way they're moving forward every tournament, and if they're not, they're improving even in the next tournament, which I think is the most important thing as a leader of a team. You see you're going the right direction. And yeah, Twistzz had an off event, right? Then you boiled it down to, okay, if Twistzz didn't have, this was a really off event for him compared to his normal standards, right? So you boiled it down to that was the issue, like maybe the jet lag, whatever, the maps we played, whatever. So I think overall I like the team and where they're heading. And I don't know what to put them in, like in 3-6 months. Like I think they could have potentially be a dangerous team in the next season.
FURIA striker, another like decent run, semi-final. I think this was one of the tournaments when you look at the top 4, it was Big, FURIA, Cloud9, ENCE. This is I think any of those 4 teams could have won it in a way. Like Cloud9 were the favorites, but anyone could have gone and grabbed the trophy. And FURIA is one of these teams that feels like they almost have like more potential than they're showing. Where do you stand on them?
I mean, I have to say, like, I literally just started watching the tournament like the last 2 days, so I have barely seen anything apart from like the end of the playoffs because I was moving for like 10 days straight. So like it's really difficult for me to tell apart from kind of like the finish of the game. So I can't really talk about Furia in general.
That's a very politically correct answer.
No,
Not a politically correct answer.
It's very strange with Furia some way. I feel like they are going deep, but not deep in tournaments. I don't know how to explain it. I put them in a very weird position because sometimes, like, they beat G2 again 2 times in a row in 2 important games. But then they go on to lose to ENCE, which in this scenario is not a shame because ENCE have a lot of momentum, right?
Mhm.
So
Of course, you say
they
that
want
after you
them-
lost to them.
Yeah, but I mean, the ENCE players is very individually shooting hard right now, so I can understand in that sense they lose. That it's the same with us to JKS. Nobody should lose to us, but nobody got a map from us in Katowice, right? It's just one of those tournaments where everything clicks. But the problem I have with Fury was the Spirit game. They
Mhm.
look completely out of that game. Like literally no chance the Spirit game at the major.
Yeah.
Because like if you take that Spirit game out of this trajectory of Fury this year, it looks pretty good. Like semifinal Pro League, no? I think it was
Yeah.
semifinal. we
Yeah,
played them.
only
Yeah,
lost
yeah.
to you guys twice, I think, in the group stage and in the playoffs. As
Exactly, and then they went deep at the major top 8, and then they went semifinal here after beating G2 again. So if you just take that Spirit game out of the way, this is a pretty decent result for Furia. Where my expectation when the season started wasn't that high for them. So I feel like I don't know what they lack, but they lack something in those moments.
Almost feel like the similar thing what you're talking about with Cloud9 in terms of like they just don't know how to do it. Like they know how to win games, but they don't know how to win tournaments, or they don't know how to step up in these like situations, or maybe it's a major quarterfinal and they're losing to someone they shouldn't be losing, and then things go wrong on the team on TeamSpeak between players, stuff like that. I feel like that's kind of the vibe where Furia is right now, because if you can beat G2, but that's also like a question mark, and that's a discussion for itself. You should also be able to beat Spirit, right? But it's not always that simple.
I mean, the
Definitely.
Spirit game, I have to say, like, K-Serato was just non-existent there, and that usually doesn't happen. Like, it's very rare that you see K-Serato not show up, and that was basically the reason why Furia wasn't competitive in the Spirit game, I think. So
Yeah,
I
but
wouldn't put it down too much, apart from just like an off game from a really key player for Furia. Like, they always rely on Yuri and K-Serato, and they're almost always there. But obviously, if you don't have one of your biggest stars and showing up and nobody makes up for it, that you're gonna have problems.
But that's also one thing with Fury. They're a one-dimensional team, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So if one of the key players off for them, they have a hard time to finish off the rounds or start the rounds, right? So if Art has a tough time, then Caserato you has a tough time finishing the round. So if your Art start off good and Caserato has an off day, they have a hard time finishing the round.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's maybe the problem they have to look into, that they maybe are too one-dimensional sometimes, that if it works, it works, but if not, they don't have any secondary plan on how to get back in the game. So I think maybe that's the main concern for me to Furia, that it's very hard to win a whole tournament with one dimension game style unless you hit every single game with 100% on the offense and defense.
Let's talk about G2, and then we can maybe touch on Vitality a bit more. G2, what a team! What a team, eh? What a
It's some
team!
water now.
You need a break. You need to go AFK for 10 minutes. I love how half of the question for karrigan was just like, just tell us about NiKo. Just is NiKo shit? NiKo, does this prove that NiKo is like okay? It was 3 years ago. Okay, it's water under the bridge. He's
Yeah.
not like the official NiKo analyzer anymore. I feel like maybe in private, if you have a couple of beers, then you can ask, but not publicly. G2, first of all, like NiKo, not in great form, not a great event for him individually, like okay-ish, but not NiKo standards. I think it really really boils down to the Furia game and the last map of the Furia game, where they just got dominated on Mirage, their CT side being completely non-existent. I don't know even where to start with this. I have so many deep just problems. karrigan, when you saw G2 at this event, what did you think?
I mean, there's clearly some issue within the team because I think the players are playing fine. Like NiKo is not as his NiKo level, but he's still not good level. He's not in a slump per se. Delphi Hunter is having key moments. I think Manes is a great signing. He's doing the best he can, and obviously he's gonna do mistakes. But somehow they lose a game or lose a round where I'm like, how did they lose that? And they go on to lose 6 rounds in a row. So, like, I have never seen, like, if you have Hunter and NiKo as, in my opinion, two of the best aggressive lurkers in the world, like, they understand the game. If the round plays out in a fast 4-on-4, 3-on-3, they react really good. But somehow when you're playing Mirage, you're taking mid control, you're going 5 guys back to A execute. You're not activating 2 of the best lurkers or whatever in the team. So I feel like sometimes there is like a clear philosophy problem in the team where the players have freedom, but they can't really use the freedom if they wanted to because the way they're playing the game, if that's the coach or the Alexi B, how to see the game. And obviously Alexi B is also having a tough time where in OG and all his previous teams, he was like I call it a star in-game leader. He was playing Connector Mirage, he was playing rotational CT on Dust 2, he was controlling CTs and T sides and being in a good position all the time. So right now they have only Jax creating space, and sometimes he's creating space for nothing because they're not like fast enough to react to it. So I think overall there's a huge philosophy problem, and I don't know how they fixed it, and obviously a huge mentality problem because I feel like they fall apart when they lose one stupid round. If you see our game and D2 game, if they lose a stupid round, I feel like they cannot recover really quickly like we do. And I think that's the key difference because I feel they're always in the game. They always have a chance to win. They always win the map. They're never getting like really smashed. Maybe they get smashed on a third map because they're like lost the first map really stupid, you know? So if you see, for example, the way they played in Katowice, it was maybe Honeymoon. They lose, like, they throw Inferno against us, but then we get in front of Mirage and they came back. So I feel like they had a stronger mentality the first event compared to the next 4 they played. And I don't know, I think something happened around those events that they overthought how they played because like if you go into the final of the first event, you just keep doing the same and try to replicate that. And maybe you didn't do the first 2 events and you're already changing the way you see it, and now you're like on a fucking small boat across the Atlantic and you can't go back to Europe and you can't go to NA, and it's like you're middle of the Atlantic and you don't know which direction right now.
Yeah, I mean, they always win and lose in outrageous ways. I can't speak to Dallas specifically, but it's just they are such a weird team to watch sometimes, man. Like they win in super exciting ways. They can have like insane games, and you're like, how the fuck does this team not win a tournament? You know? But then you see one of those rounds that you were talking about where they just do something completely like out of bounds. Like, you have no idea what the fuck they're doing, and you're like, how is this the same exact team like that I just saw 5 rounds ago? Like it's crazy the difference between like their floor, and I mean their floor is super low. That's the biggest problem. I think they're super inconsistent, and they've always been that.
The round I heard the most, they're probably still talking about, is the art round on Ancient at the Major, where he comes behind with a CC.
Oh yeah.
And that's the string round, and that's where we see G2 fall completely apart. That's one round where it can happen to other teams, but you just have to accept that sometimes a player finds a ridiculous timing, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah, they looked super lost on that T side afterwards.
I mean,
afterwards they look so good in the first few rounds on the T
side. Then the same thing happened here, like the Furia game, G2 first half, what is it, 11-4? Then a couple of rounds go back and forth, and then like a 7-8-1 from Furia to reach overtime, right? And after that, of course, Furia win overtime, and of course they went third map. And just a classic G2 falling apart moment. I also did say NiKo had like an okay tournament, 1.25 rating. He was actually really good. Of course, in the games that they lost, like the Mirage game, he wasn't amazing, but I don't think he was a problem there either. It's just Stomp and the ENCE game he was kind of average, but otherwise he was doing quite well. I don't know, people are gonna shit talk NiKo whenever anything happens. I feel like individually, at least on the server, he's doing okay.
He's doing his minimum, in my opinion. Like, this is what you
Yeah.
can expect out of NiKo, but you just know he has a higher peak that no rifler can touch. Like, when
Yeah.
he's in that Stockholm peak, no rifler can touch him. Doesn't matter how good it is, but you need the team to hit the right peak sometimes, or the philosophy or the trust.
Yeah, I was looking through some EVP stats because those are probably coming soon, and NiKo's obviously going to be one of them. There's no question about it. But and his T sides have been pretty low, and in general, like he has amazing CT side stats. He's like 1.5 rating on CT side, basically like the best at the tournament outside of like Sunpai is who just played 3 maps or something. So like by far the best CT sided player of the event, but then on T side he's like below 1.0. You know, so then clearly like G2 have had problems on T side, maybe not necessarily in this FURIA game, since that was kind of like a fall apart moment on CT Mirage. But in general, like you could tell that on T sides G2 have problems getting things started and getting into rounds. So I don't know what it is about this team specifically, but I just did notice about NiKo, and in general his T side stats haven't been great. You know, we know that this is kind of like a very CT sided meta, but there are players, you know, who still deliver on T sides. You know, you look at Bit, you look at ZywOo, some of these players who should be comparable to NiKo at this point, you know, but he doesn't deliver to the same level on the T side. Obviously, you know, there are other players on the team, and he shouldn't be the only one who's going to create things, especially from his position, because he's not necessarily, he is an aggressive lurker, but he's not supposed to be the one opening up rounds at all times. You know, the pressure shouldn't be on him alone, but you know, it is something that you look at and wonder about how they can fix that part of their game.
Yeah, I mean, also to paraphrase Maniac, not to kick someone when he's down, but like Jax in this series that they lost, he had that very good vertigo first half CT side. Like he was like 16-4 or something, ended up negative the whole series. People after the game were saying like, "Oh, Jax is not the problem. He had a good series." And this is kind of how some of these players kind of trick you into thinking they played a good game. He finished the series with 52 ADR, and I know he has kind of some difficult roles and all of these things, but I'm really getting annoyed by just like he has a nice smile, so let's just let him slide. Doesn't matter what happens, how good he is. He's just always going to be like good enough for this team. I feel like they didn't get Madden when they probably could have and probably should have gotten him last year, like or early this year. Kindar is obviously a difficult purchase right now with all the things that are going on with VP. We don't know publicly how long his contract is, but VP don't want to let him go. But if he's going somewhere, like G2 has to be bidding there. They didn't get Robs. They didn't get some of these players. I feel like Robs wouldn't be a good signing anyway. But I mean, in terms of the roles, not him being a good player or anything like that. But I think like they really need to upgrade that position. I feel like it's kind of a no-brainer. And even though I do agree with the whole like philosophy area, like if you just put a better player in a role, the team is going to be better. And then maybe the philosophy doesn't matter that much because things just work naturally. Maybe they don't, but it doesn't harm to have a better player. That's all I'm saying.
I think in my POV, I think Jax is actually a key component in G2, because when I see their body language and how they react, I think Jax is a key factor to keep Munisi at a good spirit. Because I can imagine it's a tough team when it goes bad to play. Not toxic or anything. It's just the tone can change really fast. A Finnish guy is not always sounding like the happiest guy, and everybody knows when NiKo is not playing his best or it goes wrong. It's not the best body language. But what I paid attention to, Munisi tries to cheer up the team, and I think that basically comes from the father role that Jax has on Munisi. When I see them at events, I think Jax has a positive impact in that way of keeping this team, especially in at least having fun sometimes. And I think it's his role and the way they play. You can get a better player for sure, but I still think there's an underlying issue, and I don't think Jax is the underlying issue. And you can maybe fix the underlying issue with a better player, but it can also backfire so much in that sense that if the player comes in and the expectations are high in T2, if you don't win, it's not good enough. the signings they have done. This team is built to win. It's
Yeah.
same in vitality.
What do
Phase, and
you
G2.
what do you think about this counter argument though? Because like I understand, I mean it surely is a factor. Like Jax is a positive force as like mentality wise, but even with that positive force, there is still, you even said this, like their mentality is probably the worst out of the top teams. So whatever he's bringing is not enough. So maybe we just either go the other direction or we add more positive mentality people. Like they're
yeah,
That's the logical argument, man.
Yeah,
okay, I like it.
I can't really fight back that if you can't fix it, just fuck it. No.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I don't know,
a
man.
good
Okay,
one.
guys, doesn't matter. We can be negative if we lose, but we just, even if we win, we're negative as long as we win.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
solution is,
But
because
your more point of view, right? And I also think
Yeah.
what
I feel
Jack
like they're like what Jax is doing. There's like a massive hole, like it's a crater, and he has like a spoon, and he's trying to fill it in, right?
Yeah.
It's like he's not gonna make a difference. It doesn't matter. Might as well just not try.
Yeah, can't really count the argument.
There we go.
You sold us again, Prof.
Yeah,
So good.
What a rat.
What about, you're talking about vitality. What you said something about vitality. I was too focused on this point that I wanted to make that I couldn't listen.
I saw you already.
Yeah.
Vitality. Yeah, I think I touched on it earlier. No, with the Sonic.
I think you just said something where you're talking about G2 like a minute ago. You said something about vitality. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Doesn't matter. Maybe
you're
ask
hallucinating, man.
Striker. You said something also like vitality, blah blah, but doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Striker, what is your thought on vitality? Who needs to be kicked? That's why we're here.
Oh wow! To be fair, like I was looking through stats at least to kind of like get a gauge on how things moved from the major, and obviously at the major, Masuda was kind of a positive force, and I was hoping that this would be the level that we'd see from him again. Kind of like he's had those periods before where he just has one tournament, and you can see that it just kind of fires him up. But he's kind of like returned back to what we've seen from him before, and nothing's really helped. Apex has been in a fucking hole, man. Like it's actually these last couple of events, I think he's been worse than we'd probably ever seen him in a consistent level. And I'm not sure what it is down to. Maybe it is because of communicational issues. Maybe it is because he doesn't know what to do with this team to make it work, and so he's probably trying to force himself to push himself even more and just try to go for those openings to make sure that at least they have something to work with, and it's just backfiring because he's getting a little bit desperate probably. I don't know what it is exactly. Like it's hard to say, but it's definitely a problem, and like I do think that it's more of an underlying issue than individuals. But obviously, if you have two players just not delivering whatsoever, you're going to have problems like competing against top teams, because nowadays you just have four players who are going to be there consistently.
Do you think, Striker, that this team is gonna figure it out like this 5?
No,
There we go.
I actually don't. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know how they can fix it, but I just don't. I don't see a way out. I don't know what would need to happen, for them to get it fixed. Maybe it is just time. Maybe they do just need to like find that philosophy, that works for them. But I just don't see how it is, because they went from a team that actually played reasonable CS. I was like, okay, they're figuring it out really quickly, and it seems like it's working. And then all of a sudden, they just kept that they started making mistake that you'd never see Astralis do. When they had the original 5, you'd never see even Vitality do when they had the previous roster. So it probably is something to do with the fact that like philosophies are different. They can't really. They aren't on the same page. People are just too disconnected between themselves. I really don't know what it is, but it doesn't seem like this 5 is going to cut it.
What do you, Karrigan, when you play them in the server, what does this team feel like to you? Is there like other team that you can compare them to that like plays similarly or makes similar mistakes or makes you uncomfortable in a similar way?
It's not the Vitality I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I think also the Vitality team previously was tough to play, and also think Xtrfy was tough to play. But there's something off. I just remember talking with the team that when we play them, the score might feel close, but it's like it feels shaky when they win rounds. So like it doesn't seem. I don't know how to, it's very hard to describe. I think one of the key component right now is that Cyber is kind of coming back.
Yeah.
Like that's the first step you have in that team. The first priority should be, okay, we need Saivu to perform a high level. Fuck rest right now. Get Saivu in the top level. How do we get him there? Then the rest of the guys have to figure out where to roll, how to see the game. But it just feels like they're so off page. Not even like what we can be off page, but if you have some players who always played percentage and played very structured CS, you move step by step by step by step, and then you do a call. You then have Apex, who's very explosive in the calls, like sometimes even more momentum calling than I am. Like it creates like a huge thing when you're losing the game where, okay, it's 14-11. Why don't we play the same round 5 times? We will win it 50% of the 5 times instead of playing like explosive calls. And I feel like that's what I'm having mentality with different philosophies, that I think Apex is now under pressure in that sense that he cannot call like how he wants 100%. And I've been in that scenario myself as a caller. If you can't 100% want to, if you want to do something, but you think the team wants to do something else, oh, that's a dark hole for the caller. And I've been there. I've been there a few times, and you start doubting yourself, and then you go with other style. You might win a round, but then you lose the game because you kind of didn't go with the momentum of the read you had. And I think it's a very dangerous road, and I think they have to do a change soon, because like the further they go and the less result they have, the more this overall team will feel worse and worse and worse. If you get a new player, you get a fresh start, you kind of get a little more fresh into, because it has been rough 6 months. I expect the mentality to kind of hit a peak at May, like starting to play good at, okay, they didn't go deep in the major. I expect them to do it in Dallas, and they didn't. So, but they're not bad in that sense. It's not like really bad results they have, but it's not good results.
Yeah.
Like the in between that category, it's not like I can say with FURIA, G2, you can put a finger on everything else, but in Vitality, it just feels strange because it doesn't feel like they're close to winning games. And if they are, it's very shaky games.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, it's kind of deceiving. You really think their ranking is kind of okay. They pick up a couple of good wins, then they just fail at the last hurdle. But they didn't make playoffs in Katowice, didn't make playoffs at Pro League, didn't make playoffs at the Major, didn't make playoffs in Dallas, right? They made top 8, so it's technically like the top half, right? But these are really, really rough results. Blast is next for them. That's also kind of a tough tournament to expect them to reach like a top 4.
They should have some, because if you go top 3 in the group, you kind of play the other group,
Yeah, but like
So, this is one of the tournaments where I think they could go top 4.
Okay.
Like, I would say there's a chance in that sense that they're under high pressure. Now you are like, you show that you have experience. All the players has played on the scene long time now, won multiple wins. No, they have to at some point step up to that pressure, because they cannot deny there's huge pressure on the team right now if they don't do something before Cologne. If they miss playoff Blast, miss playoff Cologne, I don't think one change is enough at that point. Like, if you don't do the change now, I don't think just one change is gonna be good for the next season. It's a long year that you go with it. Like, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they know their problems, but
Someone said swap Alexi B and Apex, and this is the most crazy yet kind of almost makes sense.
It's like it's in the fuck it category. It's
Yeah,
what Karrigan was talking about.
Both teams have problems. Just try to either bump completely out or go further.
Wife swapping, of course. Let's move on. We're going to do a short break now. I think we kind of wrapped up Dallas. There's a bunch of teams that are still there. We're not going to talk about whatever Mouse and I don't know whoever went out in groups, Encore. We're going to go to a short break and then come back, kind of wrap up the recent news, and let Karrigan go to sleep since he's jet lagged as fuck. Okay, roll the bumper.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with the swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. credit card deposits and withdrawals, instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
We're here for the Bitskins who wants to be a Skinionaire, unaffiliated with anything or accept ourselves. We're going to have 5 questions. We're going to ask Finn 5 questions here. The more he gets correct, the better skin we have to give away to the people in chat. I think the questions are going to be, I think you're going to nail it, honestly. So I'm super confident. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling nervous.
Yeah.
More nervous than the major final.
Of course. I mean, you don't know what's behind the door, but we're going to find out now. Let's see the first question. 3 tournaments are taking place this week. Which one has the highest ranked team in attendance? Is it GET Dubai, Pinnacle Cup Lund, or CE Champions?
So it's like within top 10 or the highest?
The one team with the highest ranking. What do you think?
Dubai. It's NIP.
You can click the answer and lock it in. And that's correct. It is NIP.
You like that, chat? We're getting there.
Play with the crowd. Okay, let's see the second question. What was Forrest's last year competing for Fnatic? This was in 1.6. Was it 2008, 2010, or 2012?
2010, because he didn't play with me in 2012.
Yeah. I was gonna say you were there in 2012, so you have to know. There's no way you can't know.
I beat him in the final in 2010, I think.
Yeah, what tournament?
No, I lost. Oh my god, no! Oh, flashback.
12 years later, man.
Yeah, it's like he wanted to jump through window and won 1-on-3. We are playing with Vasson, Acadian, Fries. It was this small local Danish tournament, but high prize pool. DS Rec tournament.
Yeah.
Let's see number 2 out of 2. Let's go number 3. Let's see if you can keep it up. How much is Striker set to earn if FaZe remain in the top 3 until September 14th? Is it 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros, or 5,000 euros?
Oh my god. I
can't help you with that one.
Times.
Well, obviously this is the bet between SPUNJ and Striker, but also
1K. I think it's 5K. I think it's 5K.
That'll be. I wouldn't bet 5K on that, man. I wouldn't bet 5K on that.
To be honest,
so we have to be top 3 until 14th September. Oh,
just please don't be shit. Don't be shit for the next 2 events. We're fine.
I mean, if you go playoff Blast and Cologne, like semifinal in both tournaments,
locked in.
I think if you're in playoffs with one of them, it's probably already locked in.
Especially Cologne. Cologne, if you make like a good run, it's gonna be pretty locked in. I feel like, but it's been 3 years since the bet. So technically, if SPUNJ didn't give you like 5 years, if he was reasonable and give you 3 years, it would be impossible. It's like somewhere mid this year, I think August.
Striker knew I'm coming back to FaZe, and he believed that was the final one.
I did. Exactly. Yeah, that was it. I mean, 3 years ago, that was way before it happened. So
yeah, it was like a milestone.
Yeah,
all a part of the plan. And then he's talking to Robs, is like, "Don't go to G2, go to FaZe."
Behind the scenes, man.
I give you my 1K.
I think he's pretty well off, man.
Let's go number 4. Which team won ESL Impact Season 1 finals? CLG Red, FURIA, or Enigma Galaxy?
I could see on Twitter that FURIA was in the final. That's all over the place. Brazilians.
A lot of Brazilians. But who was in the final with them?
I think it was Enigma Galaxy. I think they won. Yeah.
Did you watch?
job.
Did you see any highlights?
No, I was out with my fiance's family in Dallas, so I was just like
Nice.
hanging out the whole Sunday. Didn't even see
Nice.
the final or anything.
There's some Ana highlights on the op. Pretty legit. That's all I'm saying. Looked pretty good. Let's go with the final question. Can you secure the knife?
Is it a
Or-
knife?
It's a
Oh,
knife for the viewer. Which of these players isn't signed by EG? Is it
Oh.
Hext, John G, or Cynic?
Oh. Okay, for sure.
You can ask Striker for some help, I feel like.
John G is signed. John G is signed.
Yep.
Yeah. So at 50-50, I go with Cynic isn't signed. Is it right?
It's correct. You got all 5.
Go get that knife, guys.
Didn't even need help. Let's go.
Amazing. Just keeps winning. This
What
guy
a
keeps
gamble!
winning.
What a gamble in the end, though.
5 out of 4
I
tournaments.
thought I saw something with Hex something, but Cynic name I've never seen. So I just scrolled through there was too many players to read what team they had. So
It's impossible to actually keep your focus in the modern age. Reading to 15 players, it's impossible. I feel like no one can do that. Either you fall asleep or start looking at the ads on the side. Your mind just can't stay focused for that long. So yeah, congrats to
Lil MJ.
Lil MJ, but written
What a
as
guy.
he's like from the Balkans.
Yeah, he's from somewhere Slavic for sure.
So congrats
the
to him.
butterfly knife, or what is it?
It seems like a butterfly, like a basic one or an ultraviolet or something. I think that's what we're giving away. So yeah, congrats. We wrapped up the Skinionaire. We have 15 minutes and we have like 5-6 big recent news that we can kind of run through, get some quick opinions, hottest of the hottest takes that are available. We're starting with the 0-0 Nation rumors, which have, since we posted the news, kind of been updated. Yep. The latest report is essentially Taco rejoining with Cold. Cold is staying on the team and Try is staying as the opper. And then we have Dumao and Lato joining. So that trio from Godsent plus the duo from 0-0 Nation and the coach, I think, and the assistant coach
and the manager
and the manager and the sister of the manager.
Yeah, they're getting everything.
So I guess they're just like almost buying the whole Godsent project. Kind of, maybe Godsent's not going to have a team. Maybe they are. Who knows what they're going to do? But that seems to be the call. Striker, give me your first thought.
Too bad for Henny should never have FURIA. Have never left FURIA.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
He's in Godsent, no?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's gonna get left alone, man.
Where's Lucas?
They have a team. I don't know what it's called, but there's a team. There's some project that's been developing in Brazil. So he's probably just going to join them.
For the 5th time.
Isn't it like the new Oplano?
Maybe something like that. He doesn't have a team on HLTV, but I saw something Hammer. People are spending.
I feel like
Hammer.
they're switching a lot right now in Brazil, back and forth, left and right.
Hammer is a team.
It is a team, but I don't see him there.
Okay,
that's probably where it's gonna end up for him, wherever Lucas is. For this 0-0 Nation team, another, like, they're just like paying all of these buyouts. I don't know where they're getting all of the money, but it's like Norwegian org, right? So oil money, obviously. I don't know. Do we think this is going to be a team that's going to be much better than either of the teams that we had before?
I mean, judging by Cold Zero's track record recently, I feel like I don't know what to get excited about at the moment. But like at the same time, like it's Godsent, it also hit kind of a plateau. So like they probably needed to change something. They definitely, they haven't been improving since quite a long time, even after the Henny induction, and they finally had an opera, right? So probably something needed to change. So this could be it.
Karrigan, any thoughts?
I'm not so excited. I'd have to see results first.
Let's that's it. I think this, like, the vibe check currently in this chat just says everything that we feel about this move. The second one is obviously Boomich was removed. We didn't have a show in 3 weeks, so we didn't really talk about the whole drama or anything. Was it the drama? Was it not? Who cares?
Not really.
Essentially, Boomich is out of the active lineup, and they picked up SDY for Blast. And they even wrote very candidly, it's like his future on the team depends on his performance at Blast, which is kind of feels like putting a bit of pressure, even though it is just what it is. Even if they didn't write that, everyone knew what would be kind of the consequences of how he played.
Yeah.
But yeah, quick thoughts on that, like just picking him up out of all of the players.
I'm not sure it makes necessarily sense as a Bulmich replacement. I mean, obviously everybody thought Yakindar was going to be the primary target, and obviously there's going to be problems with that because they don't want to deal with Virtus Pro, and of course, like Yakindar is not the type of a player Virtus Pro would want to let go for free, especially after they changed CEOs, I think, and the previous CEO was looking a lot more
general manager, yeah,
general manager rather, yeah, not CEO. The previous one was general. It was definitely looking a lot more open to letting Yakindar go. This after the change, it seems like that's not happening. So that's not going to happen. But that was a pretty obvious replacement. Like Bulmich is obviously the guy who creates a lot of space. Yakindar is obviously the same, even like kind of on steroids compared to Bulmich. You could even say it's an improvement. It's an upgrade if you disregard all the in-game leadership issues, obviously. So like style wise, I'm not sure Sumdang necessarily fits. So I'm curious about where they're going to slot him in and how things are going to change things up, because I've never seen him as much of an entry.
No,
I just think it's right now filling a gap to figure out what they want to do long term, right? They have to figure out who's going to be the in-game leader. I don't think they pick one up, right? The rumor says Electronic, so
Yeah.
he has to find his style and what kind of in-game leader is, because I can't see him being an aggressor. That's the way he plays. Maybe on Nuke it makes sense the way he takes out control on T side too, but then you need a lobby guy to control the lobby round, no? Like how you want to move, and maybe it's gonna be more like split between Simple and Electronic, and I think it's tough for them right now to say what player they kind of need, what role they 100% need. As it's a big gap to fill, I think, for Boomich. So I can see them trying out some Young and then maybe another player for Cologne, and then they make a move in
the off
like in a
season.
player break to make sure this is the team for the next season. As it would be stupid to do a fast move right now, but without knowing for sure if Electronic wants to call or not, right? So buying out Yakindar and then Electronic don't want to call, you sit in a very awkward position, right? In the same, like there could be player like Jerry from Force could be an interesting
True.
caller. But we all know there has been some issues with the CIS and buying and stuff like that. So I think it's a very complicated situation for NAVI. So for now, there's probably just filling in the gaps and things like step by step and just acknowledging they need to rebuild.
And it's curious because the COO did say, Chaos did say that like they were going to try to do things similar way as Bits, that they were just going to slot him in for a few events and see how things go essentially. So maybe as Sumdayan could be somebody who stays long term, but I just don't see role wise how it's going to fit. Maybe they will find a way. I just don't know.
But
Yeah,
Navi still Navi. They have so good players that they will still be still find a way to win games and probably also a tournament.
Yeah, when you think about like especially the CIS buyouts and trades that almost never happen, that really hampers any like fantasy move that you want to happen. People are talking about Mir. First of all, I feel like Mir is like Electronic almost in terms of the roles that they play, but also the rumors are that he's going towards Entropic. I think even Overdrive tweeted about it recently. So if he was just a free agent and didn't have anything on his plate, maybe you pick him up for like a trial or something. But then it's the same problem potentially with Russian players that Navi don't want to have people living in Russia and paying taxes in Russia. So you don't really want to pick up someone for a trial, then maybe and see like in game everything works and then out of game things don't work. I feel like that's a very tricky situation that they have right now in terms of the possibilities, and definitely not something you do in 2 weeks between the major and Blast or something. Yeah, I think what karrigan said about the off season, they definitely need some more time to figure out what they even want and who they could get and figure out all of the logistics before making a call. But it just does feel shit overall when you think about Navi, when you think about their run over the last 6 months, and then it ending up like it is right now. You can't really expect Navi to be. We didn't expect them to be amazing since Katowice. We always like put an asterisk, but now they have like now it's just apparent. It's not. We don't even have to talk about it in like weird terms. They just lost their in-game leader, and they have a stand-in, which which is a decent player, but not a player you ever thought would be a Navi. Like no one ever said like, oh, SDY is going to be a Navi at some
Well, I
point.
mean, at some point there was a talk where
Maybe like
he
3
was
years
in it.
ago.
Yeah, I mean that's a while back now. I think since then he's definitely lost some value.
So kind of a sad wait and see situation. Yeah, I think overall we don't really think that's going to be the permanent lineup, but who knows? It might.
I don't
as
know
well
who
be.
else. The thing is, like, I just can't really place a finger on somebody they could get who's not, you know, in some way problematic. You know.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, maybe going towards the academy again is going to be the.
Yeah, maybe.
Is going to be the solution.
I mean, you could also be obviously again CIS contracts and whatever. It's been historically pretty hard to get people back and forth, but like obviously Spirit, there's like a guy like Patsy could be an interesting target, and they've obviously moved to Serbia already. So I'm guessing that the problems wouldn't be as bad as with other players who are still in Russia at the moment. So you know there could be a move there, but at the same time, Spirit just had a fucking huge major and getting players out of there, even mentally for somebody to just leave Spirit after a run like that, it probably wouldn't be easy, even if it's Navi on top of buyout problems and stuff like that. So it's they're really not in a good position at the moment
either. Like Spirit is not some like pushover org that you
not
can...
anymore for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Next topic. Fnatic. They signed the Flames duo. They got NiKo. They got Roy, and now they have Forest standing in. As crazy as that is, everyone's excited about that. We had Snax coming to ENCE, and now we have Forest coming back. It's 2014 all over again. Are you excited? What do you think about this Fnatic roster, karrigan? Does it make sense to you when you look at it? Even though Forest is not the last piece, but from what we know, I don't think the last piece is an in-game leader. I don't think. Nope. I don't think he is.
No, they've said it. They've said it outright that Messi is in-game leading.
Messi's in-game leading.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I think it's a tough trajectory now. I think Messi was in a good place as a player. I think he was on the right path as a player to develop. Going in-game leader role is always tough, right? It makes him need to find his own style. As right now, I can't see them have any aggressive players though. Roy is.
I mean, we're expecting. Well, I mean, Roy is definitely a kind of an entry style player, but
it has only some certain maps I feel like where he's doing a lot of impact. Like Ancient comes to my mind. Right. Maybe Vertical A ramp. I'm not sure where he plays there, but he's not like a dedicated entry. He's more like finding like an entry somehow in the part of the map he is, right? But yeah, I guess Messi has to find his role within the team. Maybe he's gonna be the more aggressor now, and yeah, I think all the team looks pretty interesting in that sense to have a good mixture of crunch with experience, and I think now also Roy and NiKo is a good duo. I think they were like the only key players from the Coming Flames for sure. So very interesting done on paper, but I think we need to give them time. And the problem about time in CS is you don't have. So
I'm curious about the last player.
Yeah, I think last player, but I think it's a good time to do right now because they get last player now. At least they have a month now, right? And they're probably not in Cologne, so they have a lot of time to practice. But and then they have the new season where they have to grind out tournaments. That's the only issue I see right now is they're just gonna get started, and then they're probably gonna have a tournament break, right? Like everyone else, and it's like it's a weird time to do a whole new team. If you get my feeling, if it was right after major, like or stuff like that, but it just feels like it's dragging out a little bit now. But for sure, an interesting team on paper, and I think they can become a top 10 team if Messi hits the right thing and the right philosophy with the team.
Yeah, I am a little bit worried about Messi for sure, just because of what you were talking about. Because like he's just found a really good level at Fnatic. He was kind of like the only rock that I was looking at that was like, okay, this guy definitely fits. Like you definitely can keep him and Grims, and that's a good duo to build around. But now you just throw in-game leadership on top of him, and it seems like a half measure. And it's not the first one in Fnatic either. So it's a bit that's the worrying part for me. It feels like they're moving from like half measure to half measure, and that's not a recipe for success long term.
I would be more excited if they brought Huxi with them in that sense, that Huxi would take that two of the players know how he calls, the Swedes have to adapt. But yeah, Now it comes back to the English part as well, right?
Yeah,
People
but
speak
but
English.
yeah, but then if you do that, you might as well just sign the whole Copenhagen Flames team, because what are you gaining with
Exactly.
getting Copenhagen Flames and then half of Copenhagen Flames and switching to English? You're just adding a new problem to a team that why does need to exist. But I think, I don't know, Copenhagen Flames obviously like cashing in on the project and what they accomplished. I don't know how much they're getting for the players since they sold to Fnatic. Probably not much, right? But they got the stickers, and 2 times they got the stickers, so that's a good thing for them. And it is what it is. Things move on. I feel like Yabi is a player that should be on like any Danish team's radar right now. Obviously, Huxi as an in-game leader is valuable, so things should. Zyphon as well, kind of a good player.
Kind of strange. Yabi must be going somewhere else already now. Because
Yeah,
Yabi was a key player.
Yeah.
In that lineup as well.
I mean, they haven't really said anything specific. They were just saying that they put them on the transfer list. It almost sounded like, I mean, that there probably have been some offers, but maybe not something that he would be interested in, or I don't know, hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, what we heard is that there are offers for probably everyone. The people at least reached out. That there's interest, but doesn't mean that things have gone through. Yeah,
it's gonna be tough for Huxi though, as the only player in that team. I feel like he's gonna have the toughest time, maybe. Even though he did a great job. I don't know what team he's.
I mean, it would have to be Danish, right? And then that's either it's going to be international, and there's not really that much space in international teams, obviously, because there's just not that many
right now to change the IGL, right? It's a huge thing to do, unless you're FaZe.
Yeah, there used to be there used to be a massive market for game leaders because there weren't enough of them, but at the same time, it's also the hardest role to get a job for. You know,
maybe Mouse for Dexter. Sorry, Dexter.
I don't know.
That's a thing. Interesting. Yabi to Astralis for Zip makes so much sense, but Astralis can't pay 30 euros for a player, so that's not going to happen. Then maybe Heroic. If Heroic crash and burn, maybe they're more likely. I feel like they're more likely to buy Yabi than
I just feel like the Heroic team is like this, you know, like they're really tight.
And there's not. It's a bit too long, especially after the major performance. I think Refresh has half of his body out of the team at the moment. I would be very surprised if Refresh, unless he just starts, I don't know, delivering all of a sudden like late into the season. I think he doesn't survive past the off season. Like he's shown too many times that he has like problems, you know, on the stage in stage matches and stuff like that, where he just doesn't deliver when they need him most, and that's like there are only so many series where you can do that when the rest of the team delivers and you don't, and without changes, especially when you've gone without a change this long and without wins this long, you know. So I think Heroic have gotten too excited about the fact that they can win to be satisfied with where they are at the moment. So I think he's not going to survive.
They have this Pinnacle Cup coming up, and I feel like this is a tournament that they have to win.
Yes.
Yeah, they just have to win this to be able to say like, okay, we are showing something. There is potential here. We're not stuck. Essentially, we didn't plateau. But yeah, he's probably the player that at least recently would be kind of on the chopping block. But in general, there's never really one player on the team that's like super lacking behind, or someone that plays all the shit roles and therefore has the worst stats. It really depends, and it goes up and down. So that I think that also helps.
But he's actually really solid, you know. So it's
that's
huge. But he's like you can't really think that he should be replaced on that team. I think there's no way.
Yeah, let's last team that we have, VP signed Norbert and Fame. This is for Buster and Yakindar, who were removed from the active lineup, but not free transfer, not free agents. Yep. So 2 players from K23, both kind of decent, but not really, you know, lighting up the sky or anything. Not the players that people are talking about that should go to the next team. They just existed there in the tier 2, tier 3, and they're pretty good.
I mean, they're the kind of an age and like not really proven enough that they could be like a good couple of players to, you know, to work on for the next year, and then maybe next year you can think about starting to win again.
So that's where you think your VP is now, just like pick up a couple of players, teach them how to play James style, and then next year.
I think for this year, survive and hopefully the year looks better for CS next season, right? Or next year.
Yeah.
I think right now for many of the CS team is to survive these circumstances right now and just have a team that's able to compete at least.
Yeah,
I don't
like
hate these two additions. Like I think they've definitely been kind of like the standout players in K23s, and they are, like I said, they are the right ages, like 19 and 20 or 21. I think is Fame, so or Norbert rather, and then Fame is like 19, I think. So like, and Fame actually didn't somebody pick Fame to be like in the top 20?
like a
I
bold
think somebody
prediction?
had him
Yeah.
as a bold prediction, and I kind of forgot who it was.
Probably
And I think it wasn't
Yekindar.
even one. Maybe no, Yekindar had his countryman, I think.
Had his
Okay.
friend, picked his friend, classic move.
Yeah.
Hobbit and Electronic seems like.
Yeah, I knew there
last
was a
year.
couple of players. I couldn't remember which who picked them. So like at least somebody has him on the radar. I haven't watched enough K23 to tell really. I remember a couple of games from him, but that's pretty much it.
We didn't talk about OG. They made this big transfer. This was like 10 days ago or something, but we're gonna see them. Let's move to the last two tournaments. We already talked about last news, which is the two tournaments that are coming up this week. We talked about Pinnacle Cup in short. Heroic needs to win it. Other than that, big coming there, like Giga jet lagged. Astralis is playing their Imperial, MIBR Finest, EG with their secondary roster. We're not going to talk about that. We don't have enough time. So other than Heroic, I guess Astralis is the only team.
Yeah.
Do they also need, like, is a win for them? How big of a need is it for them? What do you think, Karrigan?
I wonder if it's too late, but go ahead.
I think everybody at this tournament has to win it of the big teams. I think they have to, at this point, you have to lift the trophy this deep into a season where you haven't had any good results, right? I think Heroic is the one that needs the most, but Astralis needs some confidence somewhere. So if they go to play the final, lose 2-1 to Heroic, all right, that's acceptable. But if they look shaky the whole tournament, I don't know what to do at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it does offer up a chance for somebody like MIBR to step up because they've been pretty. I think they've been kind of a sleeper team on kind of like the lower team MIBR because they've had a few decent results. So I'm curious about whether they will find a way to step up. But at the same time, like you also have what's right.
This is a dangerous tournament, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no pressure on like Heroic, Big, and Astralis. I feel like rest there's no pressure at all.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, Fnatic definitely don't have pressure. Obviously, they're playing with a stand-in new team, well. But they can definitely upset like one of these bigger teams if things go right for them. So I feel like you're right. It is pretty dangerous. It is like the tournament that like the favorites almost have to win too much.
Yeah,
like it's almost like
they have to win 2-0 in the final.
Yeah, it's too. Yeah, exactly. Like you just have to not lose maps and stuff like that on the way to anybody below you. You know? So it's almost too good to be true for any of them.
Yeah, Imperial is there. Don't forget. Do you understand now?
Striker. Yeah, exactly. Do understand?
I mean, after seeing
Dallas, they could do really
them
well.
In Dallas, I don't understand.
I just saw that they got destroyed kind of in both games. So, but that's it. I didn't actually see the game, so I can't.
It is very up and down. Let's see what they do here, and if there's going to be like some middle ground that we see with the team, or if it was a one-hit wonder. This global esports tour in Dubai. Single elimination, best of 3, just a bracket. You lose one game, you're out. A couple of good teams. NIP is there, but they're again playing with ZTR, which probably means they're going to win anyway. Then you have OG, you have Complexity, Mouse, Movistar, Tyloo, Falcons, Nasser, NASR, whatever. What team? What is going to happen here? I don't even know. I saw people saying Complexity needs to win it now. I don't think that's
Mouse needs to win it the most.
I would say Mouse, yeah. With NIP having a stand in his Mouse.
Be in the final, but it's hard without Hampus. I feel like for that team, like he's a key player.
Yeah.
But if I look at this is the time Mouse needs to show something. At least, like when I see the bracket, Falcons, Movistar, Tyloo.
Yeah.
Like
they have to go to the final and at least put up a fight against whoever they play there.
Yeah. Like I think this is the Mouse tournament to lose, honestly.
That makes sense. OG is gonna be they're gonna be debuting here, so they're kind of a team that technically could win it as well, but you don't really expect them to do that on their first outing. I feel like they beat Complexity, honestly. I'd honestly be surprised if Complexity beat them. And then you have NIP, which is beatable as well. So it could be an OG final. in their first tournament. Wouldn't be that crazy, actually. To
No,
think.
it wouldn't be out of the realms of possibilities for sure. I don't say that just because NeoFrag is there.
But he is pretty good.
No, I like the signing a lot. I think he definitely needed to make a step up. I'm not super sold on it being both him and Fiku because they're both a little bit question mark at this level and stuff like that. So maybe it should have been somebody more proven alongside NeoFrag, because I think NeoFrag has proven a lot more than Fiku has so far. So I'm not 100% sold on like the direction that they're going in because that's a couple of young guys. That's kind of like starting over almost. But there are definitely decent signings. It's not like I hated either of them.
Okay, let's roll the bumper, go into the questions for a bit, and then we can close down the show. Yeah, time for playtime. Okay, welcome to Playtime. I'm gonna go through some of the questions. I know I saw at least one good question here, which I thought was interesting. Oh, here it is. Machine Gun Shkreli asks, having worked with so many rosters over X number of years, what, if anything, has worked as a catch-all strategy for competitive success? That's the question. So is there something that worked on almost every team to like improve the team and bring you victory?
I think, I mean, Vigil as a leader setting the example of work ethic. I think work ethic is like key to everything in life, especially also teams. And then I just try to trust myself. I think that's how you need to lead a team in the end. So I think that's the key things I always try to bring to a team, and whatever team I'm playing, whatever I'm doing in life, work ethic is key part.
Makes sense. Just leading by example,
Yeah.
in a way, right? So that's nice.
I actually thought of a question
Go
that
for it.
it's kind of like the kind of a question you probably can't answer yourself, and you have to let people answer for you. It's kind of probably going to be that kind of an answer, but I'll go with it anyway. Obviously, people bring up this talk about the greatest IGLs of all time, and a lot of people say Glaive for obvious reasons. I mean, he's 4-time major winner, and that's kind of like how people look at it. But obviously, he did it with essentially one lineup. You've obviously brought several lineups into as the number one team in the world now. So, do you feel like you could be in that discussion now, especially now that you've won a major?
It's hard for me to answer, but obviously I think my story is unique in that sense. If you look at international rosters, I'm probably part of the most of them that has been successful in that sense in longer, shorter time period. So I would say in that sense, it's kind of unique and will be if I keep doing it right. So for me, it's just trying to be the best, and once my career's done, I can let people decide if I became one of the greatest or not. I'm not trying to think on it every day, but obviously the major was like the one that people always brought up, but he doesn't have a major,
Yeah.
But now I have Katowice, I have the major, and obviously there's one big one missing, Cologne. So yeah, obviously I think I'm getting up there, but it's very hard to say if I am that. I think it's always community deciding that. I've never gone and say I'm the greatest in-game leader. I will say I'm a good caller and good in-game leader, but never the greatest.
I figured.
Yeah, good answer though. This is another very interesting one for me, at least. Let's say 2 or 3 years from now, you leave FaZe. I mean, one of the comments that you made is like this trio that you have, Robs, broky, and Twistzz. Like, there's a massive future ahead of them, right? And at some point, like, you and Rain leave the team. Who do you see as the two players that could fit in and take over the team? Do you have someone? Does someone come to mind that would fit into the team to make it, long-term prove?
Ooh. I think I'm not even thinking in that sense right now. I haven't even thought to myself, but I think once I will decide that it's time for various reasons. It can be that I don't want to play in the team anymore and I want someone else to keep building on the team, or I just want to stop because I'm done. They're like two different things. Whatever the situation comes to, I will try to guide FaZe in the best direction I can, because for me, coming back, I wanted to build a good core for FaZe for the future, because I believe what they've done for CSGO has been key part of why internationals team is here today. They tried to make it work for so many years, and we did. So having this core, I'll try to set them up the best case scenario once I'm done. Either, like I said, I'd want to try something else, or I want to stop playing, right? So right now I have nobody in my mind, but when it comes to that corner, I'm so good friends and really close to the organization that they will obviously ask me who should they get, and they always trust me with transfers, so I think they'll trust me in the end as well.
Yeah, I guess people can. It's a very fun question. I don't remember the user that put it together, but whoever is listening to this on YouTube or something can leave their thoughts in the comments who would fit it. I'd be curious to read some answers about it. There's another good question, actually a couple of them. One was, what do you think an IGL needs to do to activate JKS on his next team?
I think the key thing I kind of felt was the most important for JKS in Ketus, like he kept commenting on the environment we had, the mentality. You're not frustrated. We were never really down. We tried to stay positive. Outside the game, we had a good environment, and I think that made having fun again. Because, like, if I remember JKS, it was more like he was not having so much fun while playing. I know losing and winning is obviously two different things, but you can just feel he was smiling, and I've never seen JKS smile in an official game before he played the FaZe. So I think the most important thing is just to give him a good environment. I think it was a very tough environment and complexity from the outside. So, and I think you need to tell him to play his own game, because I remember he asked me so many questions. What do you want me to do? What do you want to do? I said, play your own game, and I will figure out how to use you doing every round or every minute we play more together. I know how you move, how you react, and I know if I need to tell you to push or stuff like that. So let him play his own game, and I think when you let people play their own game, you get the best version every time, and they're not scared to do mistakes.
Striker, I have one more question. Do you have anything to add
No,
before
not
I do
really.
it?
Go for it.
Okay, so the last question was, if you had Simple on your team, how would you use him?
I think he's using himself pretty good in NAVI. I think obviously if you play with Simple, he will have a very strong vision about the game, which is justified because he's the GOAT, the way he sees the game, the way he understands React. You would have to give him the team, like in that sense that I think if I was leading, I would probably not be the same leader as I would be in FaZe, because he will take the emotional leading in the team. I feel like if things is going bad, he will tell you honest answer. And I think that was the most important thing. I'll give him space to be who he is and not trying to control who he is, because I think that's the most important thing with Simple. Like, he will say something that might be harsh to you, even if you're winning 7-2, but he wants to do it because he has this like winner mentality. And I just think you have to embrace it if you play with him. And he knows how to use himself. I don't think you teach Simple how to play the game. He probably will teach me. That's how I see it.
I mean, you do. It seems like you learn from everyone that you play with. So there's definitely.
Imagine what I could learn from Simple. I'll be a Terminator in-game leader.
That'll be insane. Maybe you just want a major now with FaZe.
Yeah.
Might as well, they need an in-game leader, aggressive player, just left.
Just learn Russian. So I spoke German, I speak Russian, I speak English, Danish.
Shouldn't be that
Why not?
difficult. Shouldn't be that difficult. Just feel like, look, how many people want a major? Like 70, 20, 50, something. And how many people speak Russian? Like a lot of more people speak Russian. So obviously winning majors is more difficult than speaking Russian. So you can pull it off easily.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. I mean, there's a ton of questions that we could ask, but let's not extend this too long. Karrigan did literally just fly in 2 hours before the show. Didn't get his nap. after traveling. That's like a must almost for every human being. So we're gonna kind of stop it here. Do a thanks to our sponsors, Xtrfy, Bitskins, and 1bet. But before we finish, we're gonna do the classic. Just give you the floor to say whatever you want to say, as long as it's not gonna get our channel shut down. So
yeah, I just want to say thanks to, first of all the haters who pushed me to win the major. I think it's always been good to read that I'm not a good IGL because I didn't win the major. So now I want that. So obviously I need to win 4 more to be a good IGL. So yeah, and, thanks to all the support. I think my social went full ham after winning the major. I think the word that comes all the time when people wrote to me is that I deserved it, and I'm happy that all my work ethic and my hard work makes people believe I deserve it. So that just means I'm doing something right. And yeah, I just wanna say thanks to all the people who were there in the arena as well, and thanks to you guys for having me. It's been a great talk, even though I'm pretty tired now.
honestly, I didn't feel it at all.
No.
It wasn't felt. You're amazing. So yeah, thanks for coming on. Chad, as explained at the beginning, he was actually sick, so that's why he didn't come on. He's gonna be on for whenever I guess we have the next episode, probably in a week or so.
Yeah, we're gonna try to be a little bit more diligent about making episodes. We had a really hard time.
We've been a bit lazy. We've been a bit lazy, but we're gonna go back into the regular scheduling, and maybe we do another live show as well. You know, Cologne is coming up. Maybe we can organize something there. That's gonna be kind of fun. The last time in Belgium was fucking amazing. So thanks for people that showed up.
So it's not only players who falls off after the major, also you guys.
Bro, it's hard. It's hard.
Too tiring.
I mean, I'm not even joking. Like I was watching Dallas and talking to some people. It's like no one's getting excited about this. I can't get excited about this. Like it's good CS, but it's not the same. Everyone needs like a week or two to kind of get back.
It was so strange to go from a major final to play a best of 1 in a group stage 7 days later. Mentally, like, yeah,
I can imagine.
It's not there. Okay, thanks
also jet lag after a long time
for coming on, for watching us. Thanks for carrying, for coming on. Striker, build your apartment so you can you can show it off. It's amazing and pretty, I think so. And thanks to Dimitri for the producing, and Taylor Swift in the back of his apartment for supporting us and watching through for everything. That's it. Season 6, episode 18, coming back in a week for another one. Goodbye.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.